Hokage I can only use Xianju, Chapter 181-200. Chapter 181-6 Paths and 10 Tails Seals. Feng Yao stretched out his right hand, and Chu Daoyu changed shape, turned into a hand knife, and charged through Feng Yao's palm. Virtualization. Obito turned his right eye and put the entire upper body into the Shenwei space. Feng Yao hit the air with a single blow, and smashed the distant boulder into powder. Obito sank directly into the ground and emerged from the big tree not far away. Naruto saw Feng Yao's eyes suddenly light up. He jumped to Feng Yao's side and said excitedly, "Feng Yao, are you here to help us?" Naruto's tone was full of anticipation. Nothing could describe his current mood. Feng Yao shot and fought with Obito. In Naruto's view, Feng Yao seemed to be on Konoha's side. For a time, he even forgot about the things he said before that he wanted to beat Feng Yao. Feng Yao looked at Naruto with a smile on his face and was silent for a while. With the current distance, he could instantly control Naruto and pull away the tailed beast from him. But he, who was hiding beside him, naturally heard what Naruto had just said to Obito. Nearly 2 years had passed, and Naruto was still sticking to his promise. Feng Yao sighed inwardly. Forget it, anyway, there are other people with 9-tailed chakras on them. After Feng Yao settled the matter in Union Village, he came to Konoha early to wait for Madara to appear at the same time as Konoha. He also made a lot of preparations. No matter what, the 10 tails will definitely appear in the world, which is related to the incarnation of 10 tails. Human strength. However, it is not Naruto who has 9-tailed chakra alone. Konoha village will be his own in the future. Tsunade and Naruto have a good relationship. The most important thing is that Feng Yao does not want to do anything to Naruto. Feng Yao turned his head away, and Naruto put a cold butt on his hot face. Then Feng Yao replied indifferently, "Don't get me wrong, I just need something from Obito, not here to help you. Itachi, come here." Itachi jumped to Feng Yao's side when he heard the order. It wasn't Feng Yao's order that Itachi just shot to save Sasuke. Itachi shot himself, even if he was changed by other gods, but the strong emotion in his heart to protect his younger brother still made him save his younger brother. Feng Yao didn't intend to say anything at this point. This is human nature, not to mention that it is a brother-in-law like Itachi. Itachi's illness is now cured, and Konoha village will be in his hands sooner or later. It would be a matter of time before Itachi was rehabilitated and returned to Konoha to help Tsunade take care of Konoha village for himself. Although Sasuke eagerly wanted to know everything, he knew that it was not the right place, so he could only jump to Naruto's side and stand with him. At the same time, the kaleidoscope stared at Feng Yao on the opposite side, but he still remembered how badly he was beaten last time. He was just rubbing against the ground. And he didn't understand why Itachi was with Feng Yao now. Obito's incarnation ability is difficult to handle, and he can only be persecuted by continuous attacks. Thinking of this, Feng Yao controlled the 9 Taoist jade, changed into a sharp sword-like shape, and flew a hurricane to Obito. The trees and rocks along the way were all like waste paper, easily shredded and torn, and Obito's pupils shrunk into needle-like shapes. "Not good," Obito exclaimed in exclamation. "Immediately turn on the blur, and barely survive under the continuous attack of Chu Daoyu. Every time Chu Daoyu passes through Obito's body, another Chu Daoyu will approach." Obito didn't dare to stop the blurring, and he could only see that Chu Daoyu kept passing through his body. In this way, Obito would die as soon as the time came. Obito habitually touched his left eye. He wanted to rely on Izanagi, but he remembered that Madara said that the Daoyu can invalidate all ninjutsu, so he had to drop the idea. "It seems that I can only sneak into the ground." Obito frowned and moved downward. Feng Yao manipulated the last jade for the Dao, and directly punched a small pit dozens of meters deep on the ground where Obito was located. If Obito still wants to retreat, he will continue to fight. Looking at the deep hole in the ground, Obito is in a dilemma for a while. The 5-minute time came quickly. Looking at the Chu Daoyu Phaegian flying again, Obito froze and closed his eyes. "My life is over." What Obito waited for was not the feeling of his body being shattered, but being tightly bound. When Chu Daoyu was about to hit Obito, he changed into a Chu Daoyu hand and grabbed him. Obito's body was brought in front of Feng Yao, and under the white Guyu mask, there were a pair of resentful eyes. Feng Yao chuckled lightly. Why, there's no need to hate me so much, you don't want to die now, I have to get what I want. Obito showed doubts, and then sneered. What do I have that Feng Yao, the leader of your dignified, immortal, organization, asked for? Facing Obito's cynicism, Feng Yao was not angry. He calmly put his hand on Obito's mask and exerted a little force. The entire mask began to crack, and the cracks spread across the entire mask instantly. Click. The mask that Naruto couldn't break with his frog team's hands, was grabbed by Feng Yao so lightly, and it turned into pieces all over the ground. Feng Yao is both yin and yang, and the power of yang can enable the owner to obtain powerful body energy, and it is not too easy to crush a mask. If it wasn't for Feng Yao's restraint, Obito's head would have been crushed. As a result, Obito's face was exposed to everyone for the first time. With short black hair, there are many folded wrinkles on the right side of the face, a pair of riding wheel eyes, and a cold face, staring at Feng Yao coldly. Who is this? Naruto asked, without Kakashi. Of course he didn't know the man, Doghead, who once hugged him. Itachi didn't react much. As a member of the Immortal Organization, he already knew Obito's true identity. In his heart, he couldn't help but smile bitterly at the thought that he had always thought that the other party was Madara. Facing Obito's gaze, Feng Yao's blue pupils glowed, and he used an illusion on Obito. Illusion, Reincarnation Eye. Feng Yao is an illusion that uses the pupil power of the Samsara Eye to release the shaker. The power is naturally not something that the kaleidoscope shaker can resist. In the original book, Sasuke controlled the nine-tailed beasts with a single glance of this illusion. Obito's body was startled, his eyes suddenly turned into the pattern of Samsara eyes, and he fell into an illusion. Feng Yao released the hand of the begging jade that trapped Obito, stared into his eyes and asked, Obito, tell me how to use the 6 Tao and 10-tailed coffin seals and the order of the seals. Obitumuna nodded, then formed a few seals in his hand, and pointed out the points that need attention. Feng Yao nodded with satisfaction, synchronized the information to the avatar, and then the avatar would use the 6 10-tailed coffin seals to become the 10-tailed human pillar. The other jade beside it was transformed into a tin stick in Feng Yao's hands. Now that the 6 Tao and 10-tailed coffin seals have been obtained, it is useless to keep Obito. Chapter 182-Obito, it's really you. Feng Yao raised the tin stick above his head and hit Obito's head. If this hit, 10 lives would not be enough for Feng Yao to kill. Divine Might. When the tin stick was halfway through, a familiar voice suddenly came, and the space began to distort as soon as the voice fell. The target was Feng Yao's tin cane. The twisted angle made the tin cane deviate from the direction, allowing Obito to avoid the fatal blow. Feng Yao's eyes flashed. He turned his head to look, and found that Kakashi was standing not far away. The kaleidoscope writing wheel was turning in his left eye, and the blood was left along his cheek. It was Kakashi's divine power that just distorted the space and let Feng Yao's stick fail. Not only Kakashi, but standing with him are the Hokage of the past who have just been reincarnated from the dirt. After they were resurrected, they followed Kakashi to the battlefield for the first time. They wanted to stop Madara directly, but they happened to see Feng Yao preparing to kill Obito on the way. Kakashi saw Obito for the first time, and even thought he was dazzled. After repeated confirmation, he chose to save his former companion without hesitation. Who, Obito, it's really you, why didn't you come back when you were alive? Kakashi asked, gasping for breath. Obviously it still takes a lot of chakra to twist the jade. But now Obito obviously can't answer Kakashi, he is still trapped in illusion. Kakashi-sensei, we are here. Do you know this masked man? Naruto waved his hand high, allowing Kakashi to see himself. Kakashi was relieved to see Naruto and Sasuke first, At least his two disciples were fine, he explained vaguely. I know, it's my former companion, Uchiha Obito. I didn't expect him. It turned out to be a masked man, and he even joined the Shao organization. When he said this, Kakashi sighed again, as if it sounded from the past. Feng Yao interrupted directly. Kakashi, haven't seen you for so long, are you already indistinguishable from me? I killed Obito to help you, Konoha. Why did you interrupt my attack? Kakashi looked at Feng Yao fearfully. Long time no see, Feng Yao, I have to confirm some things about Obito. Besides, how can I believe that you are here to help us, Konoha? When we were there, you smashed a meteorite with a diameter of 100 meters at our Konoha. Feng Yao rubbed his forehead after hearing this. This is indeed the case. Ha ha ha, meteorite. After hearing this, Hasuma laughed twice, as if he didn't care. This young man is not simple. You can see that the black ball next to him has at least 4 changes in attributes. His physical energy and mental energy are very powerful. He must be a member of the Uchiha family. Looking at the wind with admiration. Next to him was a one-eyed middle-aged man with a bandage all over his body. He said gloomily, first-generation adults, don't be deceived by this person's performance. The extreme attack on Konoha village, the old man also died under his conspiracy. It can be said to be extremely cunning. The person who spoke was the 5th-generation Hokage Danzo, who died in Feng Yao's hands, and was also the shortest-lived Hokage. The 4th generation did not succeed in resurrection. Kakashi could only settle for the next best thing and resurrected Danzo. Zhang was not able to successfully cast the sealing technique, so he succeeded all at once. Feng Yao saw that Tuanzang's face naturally became gloomy. Although he had killed the other party himself once, he still couldn't restrain his mood when they met. Duanzang, I didn't expect you to be resurrected. Just let me kill you once. Don't worry, I will enjoy the process and won't let you die easily. Feng Yao said cruelly to Danzang. Not only can the reincarnation of Chudao Jade killing core hide dirty soil not recover, but if it is completely killed, there will be no chance of being turned around in the future. Looking at such arrogant Feng Yao, the 2nd-generation Hokage Senju Tobirama couldn't bear it anymore. He always hated threatening the village and ninjas with rebellious hearts, not to mention that he knew that Feng Yao killed the 5th-generation Hokage Danzo. But his subordinates. HMPH, an evil kid who has gone astray. I'll deal with you straight away. As soon as the voice fell, a powerful blue chakra wave erupted from the 2nd generation. Even if the distance was still far away, Itachi and others could feel the terrifying murderous aura of the 2nd-generation Hokage. Who is this white-haired uncle, so terrifying? Naruto covered himself with one arm, his face twitched. This kind of murderous aura, he has never even felt it from the lecherous immortal. Idiot, don't you usually watch Hokage Rock? This is the 2nd generation of Hokage-sama, Senju Tobirama. I didn't expect him to be resurrected. Sasuke also had to stand up with a knife to resist the oppressive force of the 2nd generation. Itachi frowned, stepped forward and reminded, Master Feng Yao, opposite is the 2nd generation Hokage who is known as the fastest speed in the ninja world, and next to him is the 1st generation Hokage who is known as the god of ninjas, and the body of the reincarnation of the dirt. Do we want it? Quote. Feng Yao waved his hand and interrupted Itachi. The reincarnated body of the dirty soil is in front of me, like dead wood and grass, not worth mentioning. After he finished speaking, he transformed one of the Taoist jades into a tin rod and smashed it lightly on the ground. Boom! Suddenly, a chakra that was several times stronger than the 2nd generation eyes erupted, and the impact shattered the surrounding ground. Naruto and Kakashi's clothes were agitated, and if chakra didn't grab the soles of their feet, they would have been thrown out. Hashirama's expression put away a gentle expression, his eyes sharpened, and the other party's chakra volume was rare in his life. Feng Yao has completed a lot of tasks to increase the amount of chakra. In addition to his long-term practice, his chakra amount is not only the first in the ninja world, but can also be ranked in the top 5. It's just that after changing to yin-yang escape, the breath on the body has a feeling of returning to the original, and it does not show much. Feng Yao, you've become so strong. I thought I had enough strength to bring it back. Naruto glanced at Feng Yao with complicated eyes, and then he realized that he was far away from him. Feng Yao is still far away. Itachi took a few steps back. Since the last time he fought, he hadn't seen Feng Yao take another shot for a long time. Tobirama was also briefly shocked by Feng Yao's aura for a few seconds, but then calmed down. Tobirama snorted coldly. The amount of chakra does not mean that the strength is strong. The key is to use it. Let me try you first. After speaking, his hands folded together, and a mist of water suddenly appeared around the second generation, and it continued to gather into water. In an instant, clear water enough to submerge a small lake was formed, and a huge water whirlpool swept towards Feng Yao. Water escape, water dragon bite. The water vortex directly wrapped Feng Yao, and formed a huge water dragon from the vortex to bite Feng Yao in the vortex. Chapter 183-Naruto's mouth. The water dragon opened his mouth to bite at Feng Yao. Feng Yao did not panic, but controlled a begging jade beside him to change into a semicircular passport to wrap himself. HMPH, do you want to rely on me to resist with this? The impact of the water dragon is enough to break the mountain and break the rock. Tobirama looked on, just as he was about to watch Feng Yao suffer the consequences. Boom! With a light sound, the entire water dragon disappeared directly. After contacting Feng Yao's Dao Jade, there was no resistance at all, and it turned into nothingness. Tobirama's pupils shrank. Hasuma saw something, and explained, that black ball should also contain the chakra of the water attribute change, which cancels out your water escape. Then let this old man give it a try. This time I can't let Feng Yao live. Danzang stepped forward and said in a low tone. Then, he first untied the bandage on his arm, revealing a scribble eye. These were the eyes he had transplanted before, and now the reincarnation of the dirt has also appeared. HMPH, thanks to the reincarnated body of the dirty earth, I don't need to care about the loss of chakra, plus the immortal body of the reincarnation of the dirty earth and my Izanagi, Feng Yao can't defeat me at all. Danzo thought wishful thinking, crackling. Naruto on the side couldn't sit still anymore. He rushed out and said, wait a minute, Uncle Hokage, and Kakashi-sensei, Feng Yao just saved me and Sasuke. I think he should not be our enemy this time. Why don't you listen to him explain? Kakashi was of course worried when he saw Naruto standing so close to Feng Yao, and hurriedly said, Naruto, don't be obsessed at this time. Madara and Feng Yao are here for the 9 tails in your body, hurry up. Stay away from him. Danzo was stunned when he saw Naruto, and then his expression became even more dissatisfied. A mere 9-tailed man is just a tool of war, and he dares to stop the old man. Madara is attacking Konoha now, and he put the 9-tailed in such a grandiose place. Here, Kakashi, you really failed to be a Hokage. Listening to Danzo's sneering sarcasm, Kakashi's eyes flashed, and he didn't hesitate to fight back. 5 generations, Naruto, he is an excellent ninja that I agree with, he is definitely not a tool. Naruto's heart warmed after hearing this, while Danzo frowned, and Kakashi was already labeled as an idiot Hokage in his heart. Tobirama urged, don't talk about it, let's deal with the weird kid in front of you first. Don't forget, Madara is still destroying the village, and 9 tails is indeed as Danzo said, it needs to be properly placed. Whoosh. Instant technique. After the second generation's voice fell, his body instantly disappeared in place and came to Naruto's side. Naruto saw that he was the second generation and did not resist. Position. The whole process is nothing but the blink of an eye. Obito and Sasuke were all ignored by the second Hokage. It is not that Tobirama discriminates against the Uchiha family at this time, but rationally believes that the 9 tails are more important than the other 2. Second generation uncle, put me down, Kakashi-sensei, why don't you talk to Feng Yao first? Naruto struggled in the second generation's arms. The tremendous power in the immortal state made him break free from Tobirama's arm, and Hasuma couldn't help but glance at Naruto. After Tobirama was freed by Naruto, his temper also came. As the most important person in the village, Zuli, how can he be so tolerant towards Konoha's enemies? Then I have to teach you a lesson. After speaking, Tobirama made a gesture to knock Naruto unconscious. Okay, Tobirama, Hasuma shouted loudly. A chakra that was not weaker than Fengyao slammed into the past, and the surrounding trees were all shattered, and the nearest Naruto, Kakashi and others were all startled in a cold sweat. Hasuma stared at Tobirama with sharp eyes, and said solemnly, "What can I do if I let this kid try? Put your hand down." Tobirama swallowed his saliva and lowered his hand shyly. Danzo next to him hesitated for a moment, then silently wrapped his arms again. Tobirama said helplessly, "You're always so soft-hearted, Oni-chan, big brother, I'll just listen to you, don't break out chakra." Hashirama regained his momentum, and the scene returned to normal again. Naruto slammed into the pillars and said, "Thank you, uncle of the first generation." Hashimama smiled gently, and he saw the miniature of himself and Madara in Naruto. "Go talk to your friend first, don't thank me." Naruto nodded firmly, and then a jump came to Fengyao. Naruto's eyes were complicated, he was silent for a moment and said, "Fengyao, I know that there are many people in Konoha village and the entire ninja world who hate you. I can't forgive you for them, but I can't hate you either, because I have always regarded you as my friend from the bottom of my heart. You have always encouraged and inspired me when I was a child, and you were the first to say that I would definitely become Hokage." Quote. Danzang was even more dissatisfied after hearing this, and wished he could kill Fengyao Mingren with a Fengdun shuriken. Fengyao shook his head. "Naruto, you don't have to be like this. I approached you with a purpose from the beginning. I knew you were Jue Renzuli at that time. I just wanted to use your power in the future. So you don't have to be thankful for this. I'm here this time, as Kakashi said, for the 9 tails." Fengyao told the truth. He originally wanted to rely on Naruto to survive in the ninja when he had no system, but the situation changed later. After hearing this, Naruto could only ask loudly, "Then why didn't you just grab me directly and extract the tailed beast from my body? It was the same before, you obviously had many opportunities to kill me, but why didn't you do anything? If you really want to take advantage of me, there are plenty of opportunities. If you want to destroy Konoha village, there are plenty of opportunities, why don't you just do it?" Quote. Fengyao was speechless for a while, and Naruto's mouth was well-deserved. Itachi also turned his head to look at Fengyao. In his impression Fengyao really did not seem to be such an indecisive person. It seems that Lord Fengyao has very complicated feelings for Naruto. I haven't seen him hesitate so much before. Itachi felt that Naruto seemed to have some kind of magic power. Fengyao frowned tightly with a constipated expression. Naruto's mouth is well-deserved. He first persuaded Kakashi, and then the first Hokage, and now he comes to talk to himself. The end. Fengyao sighed. "I don't want to argue with you. Forget it. I'll leave it to you to deal with Obito, but I won't leave Konoha village until I achieve my own purpose." Fengyao lifted the illusion, and Obito seemed to have collapsed and fell on the ground, panting like a drowning fish. Naruto showed a sunny smile. Fengyao was able to take a step back. He was very happy, and in the dialogue he could be sure that Fengyao was not trying to attack Konoha now. Whoosh, whoosh. Wind escape, shuriken. When everything was done and Fengyao was about to leave, Danzang couldn't sit still. He channeled out a few shuriken darts and injected sharp winded tribute chakra to attack Fengyao. Chapter 184-Fengyao, how dare you deceive me? Fengyao's eyes flashed with a strong killing intent, and he waved the tin stick in his hand. Without even exerting force, the shuriken turned into 2 halves the moment it touched Fengyao's jade tin stick. Kakashi grabbed Danzo's collar and scolded, "Danzo! What are you doing? You want to kill Naruto." Naruto is still by Fengyao's side now. If he angers the other party, Naruto's life will not be saved. Kakashi, who is in this wave of manipulation, almost wants to give him 2 big mouths on the spot. Danzo didn't think there was anything wrong with him at all, but snorted coldly. Didn't you hear Feng Yao just said that Konoha had a purpose? He also said that it was for the sake of the 9 tails, so how can you keep this little beast alive? If we shoot together, he will surely die. Feng Yao heard Danzang's mad words, and laughed in anger. Okay, let's try it out, let me experience the great tricks of Hokage in all dynasties. Naruto was still about to stop, but Feng Yao waved his hand, and a huge chakra palm appeared to fan Naruto aside. In immortal mode, Naruto couldn't make a move, and he directly hit 2 big trees and fell. Fly aside. Then a Gudauyu flew directly to Danzo's position. Although Hashirama was also quite dissatisfied with Danzo's actions, he couldn't watch Danzo die in front of his eyes. Zujian folded his hands together and said solemnly, "Wood done ranking technique." The trees behind him grew rapidly as if they had life and created a wooden shield shaped like a fang's grimace, protecting Danzo and the others. In the Battle of the Valley of the End, Hasuma used this technique to defend against Madara's majestic Susanoo, the 9-tailed Susanoo. But in the face of Chu Daoyu, it was as if it was destroyed, and it was directly penetrated and disappeared into the air. Tuanzang hurriedly avoided. What he didn't know was that he almost died on the spot. Seeing Mu Dun disappear immediately, Hashima's heart sank. Isn't even Mu Dun useful? In that case. Hashimama took a deep breath, his hands clasped together, and black eyeshadow appeared beside his eyes. Fairy mode. Shanfa Mingshan Gate. The red torii gate's traditional Japanese architecture, consisting of 1 horizontal and 2 vertical columns, fell from the sky, one by one, and pressed on Feng Yao's body. Feng Yao struggled for a while, but failed. It seemed that he was sealed by the Mingshan Gate. Danzo was overjoyed, knowing that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Feng Yao, you scum of Konoha, this old man will get rid of you today. Eliminate harm for Konoha. After speaking, he came to Feng Yao in an instant, and the wind escape chakra accumulated in his mouth. Wind escape vacuum jade. The chakra accumulated in Danzo's mouth was fired like a bullet, about a dozen rounds. If it hits, I am afraid that an ordinary person will be beaten into a sieve in minutes. Feng Yao's eyes flickered, and a begging jade appeared from behind, becoming the shield of the Cross Village. The vacuum jade directly turned into nothingness, and Danzo could only grit his teeth angrily. Damn, why is this Feng Yao so weird now? Feng Dun is completely useless to him. Tobirama was a little puzzled when he saw Danzo's failure. Since he can use that black ball, why don't he just break open the Myojin gate of the eldest brother? Tobirama is indeed a witty ninja. He quickly discovered the problem. In addition to the tin stick and shield in his hand, Feng Yao only had 7 black balls floating behind him, and it was clearly 10 at the beginning. Danzo, step back, that kid deliberately lured you to shoot. Tobirama reminded loudly. At this time, Danzo's ground also cracked, and a jade for the Dao was shot out. Boom. Danzo's left foot and left arm were directly scattered by a single blow and disappeared into the air, revealing the dust inside. Just now, Feng Yao hit a jade for the Taoist underground and attacked Danzo at a critical moment. Damn Feng Yao, how dare you deceive me? Danzo roared in his heart and wanted to retreat. But compared to Danzang's panic, Feng Yao was well prepared. Chu Daoyu turned into a palm, smashed the Mingshenman directly, stepped on both feet, and the huge impact completely cracked the ground. Before Tobirama came to the rescue, a hand grabbed Danzo's neck and pressed him to the ground. Boom. Cough cough. Danzo choked on the dust and coughed twice. He was a reincarnated body from the dirt, and of course he wasn't afraid of pain. Tuanzang, I just said it, I will enjoy the process of killing you. Feng Yao looked at Danzang calmly. But Danzang was not afraid, and instead looked at Feng Yao with a look of idiots. Ignorance boy, thank you for playing against this old man. Don't forget, I own Izanagi. After speaking, he raised his right hand and smiled proudly, but after a few seconds his expression froze. What's going on? Why didn't Izanagi start? I obviously already did it before your black ball hit me. Feng Yao didn't answer his question, but with a tin stick, he unloaded Danzo's right hand, which was full of shackles. The right hand quickly turned into nothingness in the air. Feng Yao sneered. I felt very sick of your arm for a long time, and I finally removed it for you today. You look much better now. A Gudao jade behind him turned into several shorter black sticks, which imprisoned Danzo in place. The situation on the battlefield is changing rapidly, and now Feng Yao has a firm initiative. And Kakashi took advantage of this time to help Naruto in the distance, and brought Obito to his side. Tobirama's mind quickly thought about how to defeat Feng Yao. After seeing the broken Mingshenmen around him, he had a flash of inspiration, and the immortal technique Mingshenmen used by Hashima did not disappear directly after hitting the black ball. Oni-chan, elder brother, cooperate with me with your magic, and I'll save Danzo. Hashirama said. Okay, you have to be careful too. Tobirama nodded and quickly made a few seals in his hands. Shadow clone technique. Tobirama separated 3 shadow clones at one time, and then the 4 of them used the instant body technique at the same time, falling in 4 directions around Feng Yao, confusing Feng Yao's vision. Oni-chan, big brother, Tobirama shouted loudly. The pillars crossed their hands and said solemnly, the art of cloth bags. Several wooden palms about 5 times the size of an adult suddenly appeared under Feng Yao's feet, grabbing onto Feng Yao's feet, waist, and hands. This is a wooden escape with the addition of the immortal chakra, which is different from ordinary wooden escapes, and the activation speed is extremely fast, and it is elusive. Hasuma used this technique to catch Susanoo's sword with his bare hands, and grabbed Kyuubi's limbs, but he didn't release that kind of power now. The 4 Tobirama attacked at the same time, and threw kunai with the mark of Flying Thunder God at Kaizyao. Chu Daoyu turned into a hand knife and first cut the wooden hands of both hands, and resumed a certain action. Then his hands quickly made a few seals just before kunai arrived. Wan my body seal. In addition to the different strengths of Feng Yao now, the repulsive force generated by countless phantoms directly shook all objects with a diameter of several hundred meters on the ground. Chapter 185 _ Extermination. The wooden hand on his body was cracked and scattered to the ground for the first time. Kunwu returned to the original road, all 4 Tobirama were shaken and flew out, and trees with a radius of 100 meters were also uprooted. Kakashi and others were all pushed away 100 meters away by the repulsion force, leaving only Feng Yao and the trapped Danzo in the center. It's only been a year. How could your strength improve so fast? Danzo roared unwillingly as he was pinned to the ground. In his opinion, there are the first and second generations of Hokage, plus the 3 of them. Killing Feng Yao should be like killing a dog, but the reality is completely reversed. Danzo, this time you will be completely dead, and there will be no ninjutsu to bring you back to life in the future. Feng Yao took out the tin stick and said calmly. Danzo was fixed in place by the Chu Daoyu, and at this moment it was impossible to avoid, and even the mobilization of chakra was extremely slow, too late to use any ninjutsu. Just when Danzo thought he was going to die, a hand stretched out from the ground and grabbed Danzo's body. Flying Thunder God's art. Whoosh. The whole body disappeared directly in place, and Feng Yao was empty. In a sense, time-space ninjutsu is indeed one of the means that can deal with Chu Daoyu. Feng Yao turned his head to look, and at this moment Tobirama had already retreated several hundred meters with Danzo and landed on a big rock. So that's the case, did you just split up 4 shadow clones? One of the shadow clones used Earth Escape and Earth Submarine, and when I thought I was victorious, I used Flying Thunder God to take Danzo away. It's really what the second Hokage is very good at. What about the means? Feng Yao's eyes turned, and he immediately figured out Tobirama's tactics. Thank you second generation Hokage-sama. Feng Yao brat, didn't you say that I would die? It seems that you are only playing tricks. Danzang said with a mocking look on his face, completely forgetting that he had just been beaten. How miserable. Tobirama next to him wanted to help him unplug the Gudao jade from his body, but found that once he touched it, his shadow avatar might disappear at any time, so he could only stop the movement in his hand. If you are attacked by various things transformed by that black ball, it seems that it will disappear forever. Even the reincarnation of the dirt cannot reverse this effect. To a certain extent, it is even an enemy that is even more difficult to deal with than Madara. Tobirama, my heart sank, and I suddenly felt that it might be a mistake to take action against Feng Yao. Second Hokage-sama, can you help me remove the bandage on my right eye? I'm going to use a very powerful illusion. Danzo took a deep breath and raised his head. He was ready to use Shishui's eyes control the wind. Tobirama took off his bandage, revealing the water-stopping kaleidoscope writing wheel eye. Danzo, why do you have so many writers from my Uchiha family? Right arm too, and right eye now. Was the Uchiha family's genocide related to you? Sasuke's expression was serious, and his eyes even contained killing intent. After watching the battle for so long, if he didn't see any clues, he wouldn't be worthy of the name of a genius. Originally, Sasuke had many doubts about the genocide that year, but now Itachi has clearly told himself that there were other hidden things in the past, so he is even more eager to know the truth, especially after seeing so many writing round eyes on Danzang. Hashimama and Tobirama next to them were stunned when they heard it. They didn't know about the Uchiha family's genocide. After all, they came directly to the battlefield as soon as they were resurrected this time, instead of Sasuke blocking the way like the original. Hisashima's eyes were a little complicated, and there was even a sense of guilt towards his old friend. After all, Madara led the family to build Konoha village with him, but now they are different. Tobirama had long anticipated the Uchiha genocide. After all, the Uchiha clan was very dangerous, and it was very easy to lose control when gaining powerful power. So when Danzang untied the bandage, he naturally had doubts when he saw so many writing round eyes on Danzang's body, but he didn't say anything. Because Tobirama himself had also plotted the power of the Uchiha family to write round eyes, and even studied it himself, otherwise Madara's body would not have been left. So Tobirama chose to believe in his own disciple, but now it seems that there is something else hidden. Hashimama was straight-minded, and asked directly, Danzo, what's going on? Are you really, as this young man said, obtained by murdering the Uchiha clan? Danzang is also an old fritter, and even the first and second generation cannot say this kind of thing. His face was not blushing and his heart was not jumping, and he denied it directly. Of course not, these are obtained by the Uchiha clan who died in battle a long time ago. As for the Uchiha clan annihilation, it was done by the ninjas of their own family, and it has nothing to do with the old man. Quote. When talking, Danzo glanced in Itachi's direction vaguely. After all, that was the one who knew all the truth. Feng Yao directly gave a thumbs up and sneered. As expected of you, Danzo, even your teacher and the first Hokage who founded Konoha village lied to you. You old man, half of the grievances of the entire ninja world. It's all because of you, but you have no shame in becoming Hokage. I really feel sad for Konoha. Danzang shouted angrily. You don't have to spit, this old man can sacrifice everything for Konoha at any time. How can you bastard know what I did for Konoha? Tobirama snorted coldly. He couldn't bear to see someone belittle the Konoha ninja like that, so he said directly, Little devil, if you have something to say, you can say it directly. Feng Yao glanced at Tobirama up and down. Okay, then I'll let you know how Ninja World and Konoha were messed up in Danzo's hands, but before that. Suddenly, Feng Yao stopped, his eyes flickered, his face sinking like water. I want to get rid of some old dogs who want to secretly use illusion, right, Danzo? Feng Yao mastered the yin and yang escape and possessed the ultimate power of yin escape, that is, spiritual power. The other gods of this level used by Danzo, let alone control, were simply insulting Feng Yao. How is that possible? Why is the god of the gods useless to you? Danzo yelled directly. Feng Yao pointed his finger, and the black rod of the Tao Jade on Danzo suddenly flashed a dazzling white light, and the highly compressed chakra inside began to boil. Danzo and Tobirama's faces were illuminated. Boom! A deafening sound directly covered all the fighting sounds of Konoha, and most people's ears were roaring continuously. The people who were a little closer to hear were all lifted up by the airwaves, and it took 2 or 3 minutes before the follow-up of the explosion stopped. Feng Yao took out his ears and created another jade to fill the vacancy. This time, he used the jade to explode directly in Danzo's body. He was already dead and couldn't die anymore. Tobirama used a shadow clone, so there was no seriously. Chapter 186_Tsunade Confession. Ha ha ha, this kind of explosion is very familiar. It should be that kid Feng Yao, and this chakra, Haxi Hot Mom, Hashiyama, you are there too. Madara stared at the excitement in her eyes. The color is hard to hide, beyond words. Because in this world, there are 2 ninjas who are enough to fight him happily. Standing not far from him, there was Jiraiya, who had burns all over his body, the clothes on the left had disappeared, and the blood in his mouth stained his chest red. Fukasaku and Shima Senran were also badly injured and looked very weak. Against Madara, Jiraiya has always been reluctant to support, if not Madara with a little playful mentality. I am afraid that Jiraiya is dead. I am sorry, the 2 immortals, you have to go first. I'll hold the spot, even if the 2 help me condense the fairy chakra. After the consumption just now, there is not much left. Zilla, it also takes a lot of energy to say a word, and he is completely supporting himself with a thought. Seeing that Jirai might pass out at any time, Shenzuo quickly reminded, come on, little Jiraiya, what nonsense are you talking about? You can't easily die here. Have you forgotten the prophecy given to you by Immortal Toad? You haven't found the Son of Prophecy yet. Jirai also fell into memory. He remembered the time he spent with Naruto day and night, and the prophecy of Immortal Toad about him. Your disciple will be a ninja who will bring great change to the ninja world. He will bring unprecedented stability or destruction to the world. Change is one of the 2. Immortal Big Toad's gentle voice seemed to echo in Jiraiya's mind. He has always traveled around in order to shoulder the great responsibility of guiding the Son of Prophecy, looking for answers that would allow people to understand each other and move towards peace. His eyes were firm and he looked into the distance. Mouth. Naruto, the Son of Prophecy is undoubtedly you, but unfortunately I can't accompany you to go on. Let me do something for you in the end. He supported his body, stood up, formed a seal in his hand, and took out Toadien, the key that can control the seal of the 9 tails in Naruto, from his mouth. Toadien, I want you to transfer to Naruto in the future. Help him, let him try to control the power of the 9 tails, please, this is my last request. Jiraiya also released the contract with Toadien, so that he could enter Naruto's body. Toadien glanced at Jiraiya, who was seriously injured, then at Madara in the distance, and finally said solemnly, this is a very bold decision, are you sure? Okay, hurry up, stop dawdling. Immortal Zima urged directly. The ghost knew if Madara would suddenly come over. Bang! Toadien disappeared in place. Jirai also pleaded with the 2 immortals again. You 2, I am very grateful that you can fight with me so far, but Naruto also needs people to continue to guide him. I hope you can help him and continue to teach him. Little Jiraiya, you. Immortal Shenzuo sighed with a sigh of grief. A burst of smoke flashed, and the 2 immortals returned to Miaomu Mountain. Madara knew all this, but he didn't bother to stop it. It didn't matter to him at all. Naruto is the man of the 9 tails, right? You are just wasting your time. The beast in his body will be mine in a while. I've had enough of it, so let me, Madara Uchiha, take you on your way. Quote. After speaking, Susanoo condensed a huge series of Guyu and threw it at Jirai. Jiraiya closed his eyes. He had already done everything he could, and then as a man, it would be a very handsome thing to live out his beliefs and die. Ninjutsu creation and regeneration. The technique of 100 heroes. Boom. Hearing this voice, Jilai also opened her eyes suddenly, and what came into her eyes was Tsunade's back. She used the technique of Bai Hao to bounce off the 8-foot Chonguyu with her arms. Although his hands were seriously injured, they recovered in a short time. Tsunade jumped slightly and came to Jiraiya's side, looking at the burns on his body. A hint of distress flashed in his eyes. If he took a step slower, he might really lose his self. A green light appeared in her hand. healing Jiraiya's body. Tsunade, Jiraiya was about to speak. Shut up. Tsunade interrupted him directly, then raised his head and looked straight into Jiraiya's eyes and threatened. Remember, you are not allowed to be so handsome in the future. I will keep watching you until I die. You must be by my side. Hug, sorry, that. Faced with such a direct and bold farewell, Zilai, who has always been bold and easy, couldn't even utter a word. Well, is it a descendant of the bloodline of the column? It's actually just a woman. It seems that even this white-headed boy is not as good as this white-headed boy. Has the descendant of the column didn't fall here? Banana's tone was a little disappointing. What I inherited from the first Hokage-sama is not blood and strength, but the will of burning fire. I will never allow you to destroy Konoha village. Tsunade's momentum soared. Then a blue thunder shadow flashed by, with a burst of thunder. 6 types of profound truth, heavy flow 6 king's spear. The huge blue shock wave knocked Madara to the ground with an electric arc, but Madara with Susa was not harmed. But in the next moment, a piece of white fog suddenly rose up around. Boiled escape, skillful mist technique. Soon the surrounding stones began to dissolve. Madara took a breath, and chuckled. Can you penetrate Susanoo and cause direct damage? A good bloodline limit. Madara stepped on both feet and controlled Susa to jump out of the range of Baymist. Naturally, Baymist's movement speed couldn't keep up with Madara. However, Tsunade moved directly to the top of Madara's head in the next moment, raising his right foot high above his head. Weird power. With a powerful kick, Madara was kicked back directly, and there were obvious fragments on Susanoo. Madara's eyes flickered slightly. Is it corroded so that the defense is lowered? It seems that more chakra needs to be injected. Madara's chakra erupted violently, and Susanoo gradually solidified. But at this time, someone came out to make up the knife for Madara. Dust escape boundary stripping technique. The transparent barrier directly shrouded Madara's Susanoo, and then it burst into a dazzling light. Everything was dissipated into atoms, and the wind spirits floated and fell from the sky. This is the shadow of the current villages. Why are you here? Did you call it? Tsunade, Jiraiya said with a trembling voice. He saw hope of victory. Tsunade's eyes flashed and he nodded. This was also Feng Yao's order. Tsunade gathered the shadows of other villages to save the village. Kakashi resigned as Hokage after dereliction of duty, and then Tsunade took over as a matter of course. Is it the shadows of the other 3 villages? Really, it's not that the 5 shadows are gathered together. I am really underestimated by you. Madara stood not far away. He just used the wheel tomb to move the position, not in the dust escape in the range. Chapter 187-Angry Door. Seeing that Madara was not dead, Feng Ling was not surprised. He knew Madara's strength better than anyone present. However, their purpose is not to kill Madara, but to look for opportunities to capture the outsider golem. Feng Ling once again condensed a transparent barrier, and others also formed seals to prepare for ninjutsu. Mara, let's talk about it after defeating the 3 of us first. After speaking, the 3 of them attacked together. The camera was pulled to Feng Yao, and at this moment Kakashi was still gasping for breath. If Tobirama hadn't tried his best to bring them out of the blast just now, I'd probably have left with Danzo now. Feng Yao controlled the floating platform and brought Itachi to the front of the crowd. Tobirama seemed to be facing a great enemy, and immediately assumed a fighting stance. Feng Yao shook his head and said indifferently, "You are not my opponent, Tobirama, no matter how fast your flying thunder god technique is. I can still kill you. I just want to convince you, you don't always think Danzang is not wrong. I'll tell you what he did. HMPH, now that everyone has been killed by you, I'm not letting you talk nonsense. Do you think we will trust what you say?" Tobirama said without pretense. Danzo is his own disciple. At this moment, Tobirama more willing to favor his own disciples. "Okay, Tobirama, listen to what this kid has to say. As he said, you are not his opponent. If we are willing to listen, can you promise not to attack us in a while?" Hashirama was much more peaceful, and even took the initiative to put away the immortal mode. If it wasn't for Danzo's shot just now, Feng Yao might have left. Facing this enemy, it would be better not to make enemies with him at this moment of life and death in Konoha village. Just listen to what the other party wants to say as soon as possible and stop Madara. Of course, the appearance of you Hokage is not in my plan, and I don't need to spend that effort to kill you. Feng Yao said calmly. At first, Feng Yao's purpose was to wait here for Madara's appearance, and then arranged for Tsunade to take the shadow rescue field of other villages. Looking for a chance to inject the 9 tails into the body of the outsider golem to make the wind spirit become the 10-tailed pillar force. As for the reincarnation of these shadows from the dirty earth, it is also out of Feng Yao's plan. But the opportunity is rare, and Feng Yao also wants to tell everything to these Hokage who think they are doing well, so that they can see what kind of world they have created. Hearing Feng Yao's words, Danzo, who was even deadlier in Hisama, was speechless. In order to make it easier for you to understand, I'm not going to use the way I said, just let you watch it directly. Didn't you always wonder why Madara left in the first Hokage? And Kakashi too, aren't you also curious about why Obito met? Become a masked man. I'll tell you everything. After speaking, Feng Yao's left eye flashed. Monthly reading. Feng Yao pulled everyone who was still awake into his illusion. In Yudu's world, all factors, including time, place, quality, etc., were controlled by the caster. Kakashi, look at this place. Feng Yao didn't talk about Danzo first, but Kakashi first. The whole month of reading the world has changed, and it has become a dark black hole. When he was a teenager, Obito was wrapped in bandages and lying on a stone bed. This is the world Feng Yao imagined in his mind when he watched Naruto based on his previous life, and it was reflected through illusion. As that old figure, Madara, Hashimama said uncertainly. After all, the change was so great that Hashima almost didn't recognize it. As time went by, everyone witnessed the whole process of Obito being bewitched, Lin's death, the awakening of the kaleidoscope, and Madara's grand plan. It turns out, this is the path Madara chose, a completely illusory world. Hashima looked at it with complicated eyes. After inheriting the first Hokage, he and Madara were never able to communicate with each other. It turned out Madara chose a shortcut. This also ultimately leads to the ending in the Valley of the End. What a crazy guy. Oni-chan, big brother, I said that people like Madara are unreasonable. They use false illusions to create peace. He thought it out, but this has nothing to do with Danzo. When Tobirama had a chance, of course, he scolded Madara without hesitation. Kakashi had mixed feelings in his heart. He could never have imagined that Obito was still alive at the beginning, and was rescued by Madara Uchiha, and became a masked man in the future. The scene changed again, and it appeared in the Third Ninja War. Danzo was afraid of the newborn Akatsuki organization and the country of Soil to negotiate peace, which led to the end of the war between Konoha and Iwate, and colluded with Sanshoyu Hanzo to kill Yahiko, resulting in the death of Yahiko. The later, Shao, organization was established. An organization whose original intention was to protect peace was stifled in the bud by Danzo, which led to the blackening of Nagato. Together with Obito, he collected tailed beasts to achieve his idea of using force to deter nations and achieve peace. Tobirama was silent for a while. After all, Tobirama is essentially peace-loving, but he is more rational and realistic. The method of stopping the war by signing an agreement and forming an alliance was proposed by Tobirama. Monkey has achieved my goal very well, but Danzo. Tobirama is now watching the general process of the Third Ninja War, and can't wait to give Danzo a slap in the face. Signing a treaty to stop the war, and avoiding casualties is the best move. In order to continue the war, instead of wreaking havoc, is your brain filled with shit? I taught you this. Feng Yao didn't speak, he waved his palm again, and when Obito of Konoha village was trying to capture 9 tails, Kakashi felt tight when he saw the masked man in Obito's disguise. Sure enough, as he thought, the next scene is to sneak into Konoha village with the soil, take advantage of the vortex Kushina to give birth, release the Nine Tails, and attack Konoha village. As a result, Minato had to sacrifice himself and seal the Nine Tails, directly killing the mistress and indirectly killing his own teacher. Behind it, Danzo suspected the Uchiha family and separated them to the farthest reaches of the village, causing the Uchiha family to be dissatisfied and rebelled. Cooperate to slaughter the Uchiha clan. Naruto froze on the spot. In a trance, he murmured, "In other words, the masked man outside is the murderer of my parents. I turned out to be the son of the fourth Hokage, in order to give me the strength to fight against the masked man in the future. To protect the village, did you seal the Nine Tails into my body?" Naruto's tears have flowed down his cheeks. He has always needed an outlet to vent, but he doesn't even know who his parents are, or who seals the tail beast in his body. Kakashi didn't know how to comfort him. Everything Obito did, he was shaking with anger, but he was also sad for Obito. As Feng Yao said, he was not even sure if he saved Obito. The right choice. Author's digression. I'm sorry, the last chapter clearly wanted to write the title of Tsunade's confession, but the author's brain twitched and wrote it as Tsunade's farewell. His hand has been chopped off. Please feel free to eat the next chapter. Oh, say to be honest, it seems that this book is almost over. Thank you for your continued support. Doghead. Chapter 188-Untie the Knot. Compared with the entanglement of Kakashi and others, Sasuke is in a complicated mood. The answer he has been pursuing for a long time finally got the result today. He thought he would be very angry, but he was really angry, but after the anger, he became confused. The current Sasuke is no longer the former junior high school boy, he is the guard of Hokage, and accompanied by Naruto, Kakashi and others, he even wanted to let go of the hatred in his heart for a time. He wanted to hate Danzang, but now Danzang has been beaten by Feng Yao, and there is no slag left. The top-level Konoha, the third generation, is already old, and in Feng Yao's monthly reading, he can see that the third generation of Hokage is. I want to resolve this matter peacefully. As for the two advisors, Mito Kadeka and Kaharu, among them, Mito Kadeka died long ago when Feng Yao attacked Konoha in the past, and Kazuya has been sick since she lost this companion. How many lives? As for his brother, Sasuke has also seen the words of his parents before death, and Itachi's trembling hands, and he is relieved. Who is he going to kill, and even after revenge, what can he bring? Nisan, brother, why are you willing to do this for the village? Sasuke looked at Itachi with distressed eyes. His brother has been suffering from the infamy of the Konoha traitor. Silently guarding himself and the village in the dark where no one can see. Don't you already have your own answer to this? Itachi smiled mildly and turned his eyes to Naruto next to him. Sasuke was silent for a while, and continued to ask, "Then, brother, why are you joining now? Xian, don't you plan to go back to Konoha?" Hate aside, this is Sasuke's biggest concern right now. In Sasuke's disappointed eyes, Itachi slowly shook his head. At least not now, Sasuke, one day I will return to Konoha. Young man, thank you for telling us this. This is all due to my misguided guidance at the beginning, which led to this result. I put the cart before the horse. What Madara said to me at the end was right. Hashimama sighed in one breath. The village was supposed to be a place to protect comrades, family and friends, but this idea came after Hashima killed Madara for the village. It gradually evolved into protecting the village at the expense of his family, friends, and even relatives. This idea can be seen from the actions of Konoha in history. In order to protect the village, Hasuma kills his old friend Madara Uchiha. In order to protect the village, when Union Village wanted to win the eyes of Hinata, the eldest young lady of the Hinata family, Konoha chose to let the patriarch of the Hinata family hand over her own younger brother. Also to protect the village, Danzo and Konoha executives ordered Itachi to slaughter the Uchiha family. You don't have to thank me for this, the first Hokage, we can't be friends now, but maybe soon. Feng Yao replied indifferently, and now the matter of Obito has been told to everyone. As soon as this matter spreads, it can also make up for Rakakashi's plan to dismount. After all, the relationship between Kakashi and Obito is extraordinary, and Kakashi is Hokage. If Kakashi does not execute Obito, but pardons him, it will inevitably cause dissatisfaction from others. Aniki, big brother, don't be polite to this guy. Although it's true that Danzo has fallen, as he said, but he's not a good person. Don't be kind. Tobirama is still full of Fengyao. Be wary, that's his character. Fengyao snorted coldly and didn't refute anything. Keeping these Hokage can still deal with Madara for a while, and then Fengyao waved his hand, and everyone's consciousness returned to his body again. Although the time in the monthly reading space is different from the outside world, Fengyao has shown them too many things after all, and a lot of time has passed. Obito fell to the side and hasn't woken up yet, he just wasn't pulled into the monthly reading. Naruto looked at his enemy with complicated eyes. He was also human and had feelings. How could the hatred of killing his parents be easily passed over? But on the other hand, he was also saddened by what happened to Obito, and he had Kakashi-sensei, Sasuke, and Sakura to accompany him. But the other party has nothing, only a powerful lunatic, Madara Uchiha, which is also the main reason for the blackening of the soil. Just when Naruto was still hesitating, the second generation directly stabbed Fei Shenkue and took Obito's heart. Whoosh! Kakashi reluctantly blocked Tobirama's attack with his shaker. Sixth generation, I can understand that you can't make a move, let me solve him, brought such a major disaster to the village, and what's the use of leaving him the culprit who attacked Konoha this time? Evil little devil, can only kill. Tobirama's tone was stern. After seeing what Obito had done in the month reading, he had already regarded Madara and Obito as a raccoon dog on the same hill, and naturally he wanted to eliminate this threat to the village. Kakashi's tone was stagnant, but he didn't know what to say to refute. Second generation uncle, stop it, he was just deceived, even if you kill him, there will be a second him and a third him later. Is our solution to the problem by killing people? Go on like this, the chains of hatred can never be broken. Naruto shouted to stop Tobirama. When he said these words, he seemed to have exhausted all the strength of his whole body. He followed the practice by Jiraiya's side, and his ears and eyes were immersed in it, which also made him understand a lot of truth. He was no longer the child he used to be. Tobirama frowned and said solemnly, Naruto, do you know what you are talking about? How much damage has this guy caused Konoha, how many people have been killed, and more importantly, your parents, and Wei Wei, the fourth Hokage who protects the village. I know that he has indeed done a lot of bad things, and even I can't forgive him now, but even if I take revenge with my own hands, there will only be emptiness left, and my parents will not be resurrected, so I don't all kill him. Naruto's eyes firmed as he said the last sentence. Hasuma looked at Naruto with softer eyes and said slowly, you are really the kindest child I have ever seen, maybe you can change this already riddled world. Tobirama, stop, we these dead people, don't interfere with the decisions of the living. This, I see, Aniki, big brother. Tobirama sighed when he saw Hasuma speak, knowing that he could not change Hasuma's decision. Hasuma turned his head and looked at Fengyao on the opposite side. Young man, although I don't know what you did to Konoha, I can see that you also have great ambitions and goals, perhaps even bigger than Madara. I hope you never forget and throw away what you once held dear. Quote. After speaking, he glanced at Naruto with a hint, and continued, we are now asking to stop Madara, I just hope you don't turn against Konoha at this time. Fengyao glanced at the distance and replied lightly, I won't do anything to Konoha, don't worry, but you don't have to go, because Madara has already come over. Chapter 189-9 Tails approved. What? When Tobirama heard it, he immediately switched to the perception mode, and sure enough, a powerful chakra in the distance approached here at a very fast speed. The red figure hit the ground. Boom. The smoke and dust in the sky were shaken by the impact of the spot. Haha, Hot Mom Hashiyama, you are finally resurrected. I'm really afraid that I'll be late, and you'll be killed by Fengyao Kid. There was a glint in Madara's eyes, and she said excitedly. Hashirama's eyes were sharp, his hands were folded, and a fairy face appeared on his face. He said solemnly, "Long time no see, Madara, I have something to say to you, What's wrong with your right hand?" "Humph, you said this." Madara shook her empty arm and said with a veiled look, "It's the mark he left me after I was defeated by someone here. Don't worry about it, it won't affect me." The next fight. Feng Yao coughed twice, but did not speak. Feng Yao knew about Madara's arrival at the first time, because the incarnation was there, but now they have all been defeated, and there is no life at stake. Naruto was a little uneasy, and he immediately shouted, "What have you done to the lecherous immortal? Where is he now?" Madara glanced at Naruto with interest. This was his goal this time. Madara glanced at the corner of his eyes and said flatly in the distance, "I think I should still breathe a sigh of relief, but I can't say for sure. But at least he wouldn't be so alone if he died." "What did you say?" Naruto's eyes were red, and even his mood became unstable, and red chakra appeared on his body. The next moment, in Naruto's consciousness space. "Don't worry about it, Naruto, that Jiraiya shouldn't be dead yet, and that one wants to tell you something more than me." The gloomy voice of the Nine Tails came over, and Naruto came to the consciousness space where the Nine Tails were imprisoned. Naruto was still a little worried, and said to Kyuubi, "What's the matter? You can talk about it now, I will confirm it myself, there may be a fight outside at any time, I don't have time to chat with you." "Who is going to chat with you at this time, super idiot? I have something serious to talk about." Ninetales shouted at Naruto, but there was no longer the gloomy tone in his tone, but a feeling of anger turned into anger. Ninetales snorted coldly, "That Madara can be considered my enemy. He used to control me with the pupil technique, and now he has taken out this shell. If he is caught, I will be dead, so I want to say." Quote. Naruto interrupted Jiwei directly. He said confidently, "You won't die, you are left to me by my father, I will never give you to anyone." Jiwei's pupils shrank, stunned for a while, and finally laughed out loud. "Lu Dao, old man, it seems that I understand what you said at the beginning, ha ha ha, it's been so long, I almost forgot." Naruto was confused by what Ninetales said. After half a sound, the Ninetales were almost smiling, and it said solemnly, "Naruto, I want to lend you my power. Rather than being manipulated by Madara, I would rather choose you and let me help you. I think it is also the purpose of the fourth generation to keep me in your body." "Really?" Naruto responded excitedly. He was now in need of powerful strength to fight Madara. Ninetales smiled and proved his words with actions. A huge chakra gathered in Naruto's body. "Now the seal of the Ninetales has not been opened, so I can only borrow chakra, and I can't let Naruto open the Ninetales chakra mode and Kurama mode." In reality, Naruto's chakra suddenly increased sharply, and the whole person's aura had undergone tremendous changes. Madara was not surprised but happy. He nodded with satisfaction. "It seems that the Ninetales are indeed on you, and they are well taken care of. I am ready to accept this chakra." After speaking, Madara formed a seal with one hand and slapped it into the ground. Outlaw Golem. The ground began to shatter, and a humanoid monster shaped like a huge dead tree appeared in front of everyone. Roar. At this moment, all 8 eyes on its head have been opened, and it started roaring at Naruto with a hideous face. He felt the chakra of the Ninetales, and as long as he devoured the Ninetales, he would be complete. "Wait a minute, Madara, I already know everything. Listen to me, stop using an illusory world to create peace as just an escape. Don't make mistakes again and again." Hashirama stepped in front of Naruto, and persuaded Moban earnestly. "It seems that you already know." Madara smiled, and then he shouted at Shima, "But you are wrong, Shima, your dream is over. The 3 wars in the ninja world have proved this. The light relying on the conclusion of peace treaties and mutual understanding between people is too naive and impossible to bring about real peace. But as long as I start the infinite monthly reading, there will be no war in this world again." Quote. Hasuma just responded firmly, "I know, but many things can't be achieved so easily. There are many things that we can't do when we live, so we must entrust them to the next generation." One day, they will fulfill the dream of the predecessors. Quote. You're still so naive, Hasuma, nothing has changed, and you really can't get along with this guy. Madara jumped directly to the top of the outsider golem, and he didn't intend to drag it anymore. Obito has already been caught. Forget it, he's useless at first, and I think he can bring back the 9 tails as my luxury, but I have to be careful of Fengyao. Madara thought for a while. For a while. The hand is not slow. After the seal is formed with one hand, the outsider golem spit out countless chakra chains and ran towards the person below. Most of the targets are Naruto, after all, he is the purpose of this trip. Naruto, you retreat, I know you have gained some power, but it's not time for you to duel with Madara. After Naruto heard it, he didn't refute it, he could only retreat to the back first, trying not to affect other people, and he put his hands together. Wood escape, the technique of the wood man. The trees on the ground suddenly began to grow wildly, and a big hand stretched out and took all the chains into his own hands. Then came the whole body. The wooden man's body was close to the size of 9 tails, comparable to the complete body of Susanoo, and he could also pick up the tail beast Jade with one hand. In the next moment, Tobirama also used the instant body technique to move behind Madara, his mouth bulging high. Water escape, water breaking waves. A high-pressure water stream spit out from Tobirama's mouth, and the strong cutting ability easily cut a hole in the body of the outsider golem. But Madara flashed deftly and kicked Tobirama away with a kick. Several fire dragons spit out of his mouth and chased towards the location where Tobirama landed, and Tobirama thought. Flying Thunder God's Art. Chapter 190_Take out the consciousness of mortal death. Whoosh. The whole body disappeared directly in place. Madara's fire dragon hit the body of the outsider golem, causing a piece of charred black. Madara frowned and released all the 5 shadows of the Tomb of the Wheel, and attacked directly at the distant column. Among the opponent's fighting strength, only the column can fight him head-on. Of course, Hashima didn't know what Madara was thinking. He didn't know Madara's buggy skill, the Tomb of Wheels. Now that there was an opportunity to suppress Jiwei, Hashima certainly wouldn't miss it. The wooden man strode forward, and every step would cause the earth to vibrate violently. After all, the wooden man's body was really too big. Madara snorted coldly, controlled the outsider golem, stretched out a big hand and waved it, causing a sonic boom. Hashirama jumped on the wooden man's head, clasped his hands together, and the wooden man's body began to agitate. Wood dragon technique. A huge wooden dragon with a long hooked nose and thorns all over the body grew directly from the wooden man's body. He opened his mouth and wrapped the arm around the golem, and then bit the neck of the outsider golem, and the body kept shrinking, and the golem let out a painful wailing. Madara frowned, and immediately gave up the outsider golem and jumped aside. Hashimama pondered. This monster's body is full of chakras of tailed beasts, and it has to be suppressed by using the wooden scorpion first. Kuoin enters the cave and hangs the hand. Hakuma stretched out his right hand, his left hand covered his right wrist, and the huge wooden figure also stretched out his right hand, with the word, Zuo, appearing in his hand. This technique has a hypnotic effect, which once made the 9 tails immediately get rid of Madara's control and fall into a deep sleep, as well as the effect of suppressing chakra. Just as the wooden man was about to touch the outsider golem, Madara's eyes narrowed slightly. In an instant, the left body of the column was suddenly smashed. This was Madara's wheel tomb. For a while, the wooden man lost control and stopped in midair, as did the wooden dragon. Madara laughed, the light blue chakra on his body erupted, and Susanoo changed rapidly, skeleton, body, armor. Directly transformed into a full-body Susan, standing next to the golem, holding a sword of Susanoo on each of his 4 arms. With a single blow, the wooden man and the wooden dragon were cut in half, the sawdust flew, and the huge wooden man fell to the ground. Boom! The power of Susanoo's sword was unabated, and the sword energy flattened the Hokage rock in the distance. Seeing Hashimoto's injury, the people around wanted to rescue him immediately, but Hashimoto loudly reminded. Don't get close, there are things you can't see here, stay away, I am a reincarnated body of dirty earth and will not die. Madara was not blocked by the pillars, of course, it was Long Guihai, who directly attacked Naruto with a sword of Susanoo. Naruto, be careful. Sasuke stood beside Naruto for the first time, with purple chakra on his body, but the difference was that this time his Susanoo grew a meridian in a body. Entering the second state, he picked up a huge bow and crossbow, but this size was completely different from the full-body Susa. Like a child who hasn't grown up yet. A lot of shadow clones appeared behind Naruto, and then the oversized jade spiral pill was condensed in his hand to prepare for the attack. Itachi frowned, took a step forward and prepared to shoot. Sasuke was in danger and he couldn't be indifferent. However, Feng Yao held out a hand to stop Itachi and advised, "Don't worry, your brother will be fine. If he is really in danger, I will help you save Sasuke. Now let Kakashi and the others consume Madara first, and then they will take the 10 tails. The 10 tails are not complete now, and the chakra of the 9 tails is still missing." Before Feng Yao came, the troops were divided into 2 groups, and Orochimaru was responsible for it. Another place to look for 9-tailed chakra. Itachi heard Feng Yao's assurance, his brows stretched out, and his outstretched steps were retracted. "Thank you, Lord Feng Yao." Feng Yao nodded. He has always responded to the needs of his subordinates. As long as it does not conflict with his own goals, Feng Yao will agree. When the sword of Susanoo was about to fall on Naruto's head, Kakashi in the distance suddenly opened his left eye, and a large-scale spatial distortion began to occur at the focus of his eyes. Divine Might. Kakashi, as the current Hokage and the mentor of the 2 Naruto, will of course not remain indifferent. From the very beginning, he had accumulated a large amount of chakra in his left eye. This time, the sword of Susanoo was twisted with one blow, and half of the blade flew to the nearby hill, and the power directly split the hill in half. Madara looked a little surprised to look like Kakashi, not because it was a strong move. But when he got Feng Yao's eyes before, he also had this pupil technique, but unfortunately now the eyes are back in Feng Yao's hands. Interesting, it turns out to be the same 2 pupil techniques. Is there any connection between your eyes and Feng Yao? Madara also became interested in Kakashi's left eye. Whoosh. Tobirama also rescued Hasuma through the flashing technique, standing with Naruto, Kakashi and Sasuke facing Madara. Then Tobirama placed 2 palms on the shoulders of the 2 of Naruto. You are also Konoha's ninjas. If you want to fight Madara, you must have the awareness to die. I have already planted the mark of the Thunder God on you. Tobirama's tone was solemn. The damaged half of the body also slowly recovered. After all, the tomb of the wheel is not a yin and yang escape, and the reincarnation of the dirty earth can be restored. Be careful, I will use the wooden escape to control Madara to create opportunities for you. Tobirama, you cooperate with Kakashi and the others to attack. If the target is to kill the humanoid monster first, it should be the container for absorbing the tailed beast. Without him, Madara will not be able to continue with the next plan. Tobirama nodded. Don't worry, Aniki, big brother. Obito on the ground was also awakened by the violent vibrations around him. He shook his head vigorously, seeing the huge Susanoo and Juo in front of him, and knew Madara had arrived. Oh, you're awake, Obito, then the matter of manipulating the golem will be left to you. Madara noticed that Obito had woken up, and decided to use the remaining value of the other party to increase his combat power. Kakashi's heart sank. He wanted to deal with Obito after everything was over, but Obito woke up at this moment. Don't listen to him, Obito. Do you know what you are doing? Madara is just using you. Lin is already dead, even if she can deceive herself with an illusion. This is a fact that cannot be changed, please wake me up. Kakashi shouted loudly, trying to stop Obito's advance. Unfortunately, Obito didn't stop at all, just walked towards Madara step by step and came to the front of the outsider golem. He said calmly, you are wrong, Kakashi, Lin is not dead, this world is false, a world without Lin is not real, and a dead Lin is also false. I will create a person with Lin. The perfect world, where there will be the real you. Quote. Chapter 191 Burning Escape Light Wheel Blast Jet Black Arrow Zero Style. Obito's words pierced Kakashi's heart like a sharp sword. If you don't know what Obito has experienced, maybe Kakashi will give up now, but now, Kakashi is more determined to bring Obito away from the darkness. He took a step forward, and the writing wheel changed into a kaleidoscope again. Obito stopped and turned to look at Kakashi. Obito, I won't watch you fall. I will get rid of Madara, and then take you to atone for Lin, and for who you used to be. Kakashi's hand began to form a seal, and then a seal was formed in Kakashi's right palm. A high-intensity current formed by Lei Dun chakra gathered. Rachel. Then, the body rushed over at an extremely fast speed like Obito. Stop talking like that. I've had enough of you being a lip-smacking guy. Obito's eyes were gloomy, the space at the right eye began to rotate, and countless large shuriken and black sticks flew out of the Kamui space. Kakashi-sensei, you have to be careful, he can make his body transparent, and no attack can attack him. Naruto hurriedly reminded. With his kaleidoscope writing wheel eye, Kakashi kept dodging and approaching Obito. Of course he knew this, and he saw with his own eyes that his teacher Minato had cracked Obito's ability in the moon-reading illusion. I can't be as fast as the teacher, but my eyes are also soiled. They are originally a pair of writing wheel eyes, so his pupil technique should be related to my divine power. Kakashi thought quickly, stopped directly in place. With a wave of both hands down, Rachel's form was changed. Thunder Tiger Kill. A thunder wolf flew out of Kakashi's hand at a very fast speed, dodged the incoming shuriken, and opened his mouth to bite Obito. At the moment of contact, Thunder Wolf penetrated directly, and Kakashi stared at Thunder Wolf with his left eye. Divine Might. As far as the eye can see, Thunder Wolf's body began to twist and was teleported into the space. It was discovered by Kakashi. After all, I have seen it so many times in the monthly reading. Feng Yao nodded. Of course he is now willing to have a little more advantage on Kakashi's side, so that he can be in a while. Treats blemishes effortlessly. The moment the Thunder Wolf disappeared, Obito's body was covered in thunderous light, and black smoke was coming from his body. It was obvious that Thunder Tiger Tongue killed the body in the Shinwei space. Cough cough. Obito coughed out 2 puffs of black smoke. He has intercolumnar cells, and his physical fitness is still very good. He won't fall directly after being hit by a Thunder Tiger pass. When Kakashi was about to go over and grab Obito, a tree stretched out from Obito's back and connected to the outsider golem. Kakashi, you can't beat me. Obito roared. Roar. The outsider golem also roared as if responding to Obito's will, spit out a chakra dragon, and flew towards Kakashi. If it is touched by this chakra dragon, the target chakra will be absorbed. Kakashi-sensei. Sasuke opened the kaleidoscope with his eyes and used Susanoo to hold Kakashi in his hand to avoid chakran. Obito snorted coldly. It's not that easy. Speaking of the pillar behind the outsider golem, a large number of thunder and lightning were summoned to attack Susa, causing Sasuke's body to pause for a moment. The outsider golem smashed Sasuke's Susanoo with one palm, and Sasuke vomited blood and flew out. Now Sasuke is just an ordinary kaleidoscope, and it is difficult to resist Obito who controls the outsider golem. At this time, Naruto in the back was also ready, and the 2 shadow clones behind him have been helping him condense the spiral pill shuriken. Kakashi-sensei, Sasuke, you all get out of the way first, and I'll attack this guy. As he spoke, he threw the white shuriken dart that was spinning in his hand. Immortal, Wind Escape, Spiral Shuriken. Spiral Shuriken completed under the guidance of Jiraiya, and it is also the proof of Naruto's hard work. The seemingly huge spiral pill shuriken is actually a collection of countless tiny chakra blades, which can directly destroy body cells from a microscopic perspective, and its attack effect is closer to that of toxins. It's a good ninjutsu, but it's a daydream to try to get rid of the outsider golems just based on this. Let me die. Although Obito could feel that Naruto's ninjutsu was extraordinary, he also knew very well what the outsider golems were. Defense power, so he directly controlled the outsider golem and rushed over. Sasuke fell to the side, and he was seriously injured by the blow of the outsider golem just now, and several ribs were broken, but he still had things he could do. Sasuke aimed his right eye at the flying spiral shuriken. Flame escaped katakana middle dot gaju earth life. The black flame immediately attached to the wind escaped spiral shuriken, and most of it turned black, and the wind would fuel the fire. This was the combination of Naruto and Sasuke. The pupils of Obito who controlled the outsider golem shrank. This is very different from the previous attack. I'm afraid the outsider golem will be overwhelmed, but now there is no way to avoid it. The timing of Sasuke's selection is very good. Opportunity. Madara next to him naturally couldn't allow this to happen, and directly controlled the complete body Susanoo to help. Ha ha ha, Madara, your opponent is me, don't disturb the young man's battle. Hashimama came to Madara in a flash. With his hands together, the ground trembled wildly, and a giant tree grew out of the sky towards Madara's Susanoo. Wooden, the flower tree world is coming. In the use of Mudden, the pillars are even better than Madara. The large branches of the underground bulge cut through the mountains, cut through the rocks, and cover the entire ground. Flowers grow and begin to release pollen. After Madara cut down the entangled trees with one knife, new trees will appear and continue to harass Madara. For a while, Madara couldn't help Obito to protect the golem, so he had to deal with Hashima first. Fire escape whirlwind of fire. Banban waved the flame fan, and this time Banban fanned out a dozen huge giant fire tornadoes. In an instant, all the flowers and trees nearby were cleared. The fire tornado ripped apart the trunks on the ground, ignited the huge flowers around, and released thick smoke. Even if it is dozens of miles away from Konoha, you can see the fire soaring into the sky at this moment. This is probably the biggest fire in Konoha's history. Whoosh! In the firelight, Tobirama also appeared in front of Madarasu Sanoku. He used the teleportation technique to keep moving beside Susanoo, and thousands of detonating talismans were pasted on Susanoo's limbs. I didn't expect that one day I would come to use this technique in person. Aniki, you are going to back up, it's going to explode. Tobirama shouted loudly, and Hasuma jumped away. After that, Tobirama took out a detonating talisman from the dirty body and threw it at Susanoo, and the detonating talisman in the air circulated infinitely dozens, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of detonating talismans, until there were trillions of detonating talismans. Causes infinite continuous explosions on Susanoo's body. Chapter 192 The Kurama seal is broken. Take a taste of the power of the multiplication detonation talisman, Madara, Mara. This was Tobirama's last roar, and then the voice was muffled. Boom, boom. The sound of the detonating talisman once again spread throughout Konoha village. Fortunately, most of the people had already taken refuge underground. Otherwise, a fight between gods like Madara and Hasuma would have to accidentally injure many people. If the building is gone, it can still be built, but if the life is gone, there is really nothing left. On the other side, Burning Escape and Nimbus Blast Jet Black Arrow Zero also exploded in front of Obito. The hurricane field formed by the wind escape enveloped the outsider golem, fueling the black flame burning attack. Well done, Naruto Sasuke, it's the first time I've seen such a strong Kabuto life, I must be able to bear this monster. Kakashi praised, he was happy for the outstanding growth of his disciples. Hashimama pulled Tobirama, whose body was completely blown up, and came to the side. Although the explosive talisman was extremely powerful, it was easy to get himself involved. The reincarnation of the Dirty Earth was originally intended to cooperate with this ninjutsu. Created. Well done, Uchiha Kid, as long as this thing dies, Madara's plan can't be implemented, and then we only need to think about how to surround Madara. Tobirama is obviously very satisfied with the attack of the two Naruto, and has already thinking about what happened next. Hashimama directly shook his head and retorted, No, Tobirama, Madara just went astray. The peace achieved by this shortcut method is distorted. I will try to convince him that I made the wrong choice at the beginning, and now it should be I am here to correct, and I also believe that the day will come when people will understand each other. After all, there are so many good young people. Quote. Hasuma looked at Naruto and Sasuke gently, and he seemed to see that with the efforts of these people from generation to generation, the future of the ninja world will one day lead to permanent peace. Poof tilde. While speaking, a black hand penetrated the reincarnated body of the filthy earth. Aniki, big brother. The first generation of adults. It seems that Madara is even better. Hashima lost. Madara's deep voice came from behind Hasuma. Hashima, why don't you understand? It's impossible for ninjas, villages, and countries to meet each other honestly and honestly. The brief peace of the 5 kingdoms is nothing but fear of your power. Tobiramas, mutually multiplied detonating talisman, can't help Madara. In the smoke, Madara used the wheel tomb to approach the column, and swapped positions, and the sneak attack was successful. Sooner or later, Madara with double reincarnation eyes can suppress them even if one arm is missing. While speaking, the immortal chakra in Hashima's body began to flow towards Madara's body. Madara cast a glance at Feng Yao's position when absorbing the immortal art, and couldn't help but wonder, don't you plan to shoot? Isn't this guy Feng Yao here to kill me? Forget it, I am not with the immortal art chakra. Too afraid of him. Tobirama was almost recovering at this moment, and he pulled out Fei Laishan Kunai and stabbed towards Madara. But in the next moment, the body was once again shattered by the tomb of the wheel, and for those who did not have the eye of reincarnation, the tomb of the wheel had no solution. On the other side of Obito, the black flames also gradually weakened. You can see a broken barrier around the outsider golem. At the last moment, Obito launched the Uchiha Flame Array, blocking a part of the black flame, and then absorbing all the burning skin into the Shinwei space, saving the outsider golem. Hashima, who was drawn from the immortal chakra, fell to the ground weakly, and Madara slowly walked towards Naruto. Just as Naruto was about to escape, he was firmly held in place, and the tomb of the wheel hugged him tightly, unable to move. Okay, it's time for me to collect the fruits of victory, the 9 tails are mine. Saying the seal with one hand, the outsider golem in the distance spat out the chakra chains and headed straight for Naruto. Wrapped around Naruto's neck, ready to pull away and forcefully pull away the 9 tails. Naruto grabbed the chain with his backhand and shouted, I will never give 9 tails to you, 9 tails, don't give up either. Oh, this seal is better than the previous one, but it still can't stop me. Madara said indifferently, increasing the distance from the 9 tails. Naruto's nails cracked, and the blood stained the chain red. Naruto had exhausted his strength at this moment, but the chain was still retreating a little bit. In the consciousness space, Kurama's body was wrapped in chains. It saw Naruto's efforts, and it was also desperately resisting. But the sealed gate that had been imprisoning him began to shatter continuously. This might be the first time that the 9 tails didn't want the door to shatter, because he knew that once he was pulled away, Naruto would surely die. Feng Yao's begging jade has become a long knife in his hand. If it is really pulled away, Feng Yao will also block it. Finally, the seal was broken, and Kurama's body appeared in the outside world, and Naruto felt the threat of death at this moment. Feng Yao's long sword of seeking the Tao is about to be swung out, but some people obviously don't want Naruto to die. Stop it, you bastard! Sasuke roared, a lot of blood seeping from his eyes, and Susanoo finally entered the 3rd form. Naruto's pain stimulated his emotions, and the purple Susanoo put on Weddingu armor. Yan done, Susanoo, Kaguchi. The blade formed by the black flame slashed the chakra chain with one knife, and the 9 tails glanced at Sasuke gratefully, and returned to Naruto's body again. Sasuke gasped violently and covered his eyes in pain. This was too much burden on his body. After just using it once, he felt that every cell in his body was in pain. It's really good, and you have opened the kaleidoscope writing wheel at such a young age. You are really similar to him. I will give you a chance to come to my side for the Uchiha clan to help me. Let's do it. Madara smiled rarely, and stretched out her hand to invite Sasuke. Feng Yao pouted. Of course he knew Madara had failed. Sasuke's appearance was very similar to Madara's younger brother Kwannon, so Madara moved a little bit of compassion. Whoosh, whoosh. Two air-breaking sounds came, and two figures, a man and a woman, appeared beside Feng Yao. I am sorry, Yaojun, it took too much time to find the mask in the noodle hall. I hope I didn't delay you. One of the people who came was Orochimaru. He was ordered by Feng Yao to find the mask of death that sealed the soul of the 4 generations of Hokage. After all, half of the 9-tailed chakras in the 4 generations of the body could be used, which must be enough. The other was to Yuya. She bowed slightly and said, I have everything ready for the reincarnation of the dirty earth. Lord Feng Yao, shall we start now? Chapter 193 The other half 9-tailed chakra. Feng Yao took the death mask, studied it, and then threw it to Orochimaru. The matter of asking death to be possessed was still left to Orochimaru. I'll leave it to you to lift the ghoul seal, and then I'll extract the other half of the 9 tails from the 4th generation's body. Feng Yao said flatly. However, Orochimaru became excited, because he knew that after extracting the 9 tails, all that was left was to absorb the 10 tails and become the second immortal-like existence of the 6 paths. To be able to witness this kind of thing with his own eyes is undoubtedly the greatest for a researcher like Orochimaru. Temptation. Don't worry, Yaojun, I have thoroughly researched this technique, Orochimaru said confidently. Then you also took out several different scrolls, which stored the cells of the water gate, and the white Jew that was researched and produced by Orochimaru. Orochimaru first quickly arranged the ritual of reincarnation of the dirty soil, and took out the DNA of Baiju in the 4th generation from the scroll. Then he put on the mask of death, and moved his hands to focus on chakra, and guided the death to attach to his body. After a while, a ghost-faced and fangs white-haired death appeared behind Orochimaru. With a short knife in his mouth, he was covered with a white robe. Then Orochimaru also took out a short knife and cut his stomach, and the god of death behind him also imitated Orochimaru's movements. He took off the short knife in his mouth, licked a blade with his long tongue, and cut open his stomach directly, and an illusory soul appeared on the field. Orochimaru coughed out a mouthful of blood, took off his mask and slapped his hand into the ground. Reincarnation of dirty earth. The soul fell on Baiju's body, and after a wailing, Baiju turned into the appearance of the 4th generation Megami Feng Minato, with neat yellow hair, wearing a green Konoha ninja uniform, and a white robe. Orochimaru stood up. The wound on his stomach had begun to heal, and after integrating Feng Yao's cells, he started a lot of human experiments, and he was very satisfied with his current body. Is this Konoha here? Are you, Mr. Orochimaru? Minato first looked around. Although Konoha's Hokage rock was cut in half, Minato reluctantly recognized it. He saw Orochimaru standing in front of his eyes. Orochimaru smiled sideways. It's been a long time, Minato, you really took a lot of work to revive you. Resurrect me. Minato looked down at his body, confirming that he was summoned back to the world. I didn't expect that the ghoul seal would be cracked, Mr. Orochimaru, you are really a genius. Minato said in surprise. HMPH, you've won the prize, Minato, I have something to ask you for help this time. Orochimaru's eyes flashed with a glimmer of light, and then he used the contract effect of reincarnation to restrain Minato. Minato frowned, and immediately mobilized chakra to resist, but after all, it was not the 1st generation. Facing the suppression of Orochimaru, Minato still could not move. Mr. Orochimaru, I am a dead person, how can I help you? Although he was dissatisfied with Orochimaru's behavior, Minato, as Jiraiya's disciple, and his master's generation are still maintain calm and rational communication. 4th generation, I made Orochimaru resurrect you. You should recognize who the boy over there is. Feng Yao stood beside Minato and pointed to the place where Madara and the others were fighting in the distance. Minato was silent for a moment, then he murmured, Naruto, Naruto. Feng Yao said solemnly, I'll keep it short, I need the other half of your body, the nine-tailed chakra. Do you hand it over yourself or I'll take it? Minato had a cautious look on his face. The power of the nine tails was no trivial matter. There were many people who wanted to use it. If it fell into the hands of people with ulterior motives, the consequences would be unimaginable. I can't agree to your request. I'm sorry, young man, if you want to force it, don't. Although I am subject to Orochimaru, I will not let you take the nine tails easily, and the nine tails will not go with you. Feng Yao sighed and put his hand on Minato. He knew that with the temperament of the fourth generation, he would not honestly hand over the nine-tailed chakra to himself. As he input chakra into Minato's body, he said, "Fourth generation, you know. The tailed beasts are all based on a chakra called a ten-tailed monster, using the separation of yin and yang to create existences, so it doesn't require too complicated requirements to pull out the tailed beast. You only need to be able to master the yin and yang escape skillfully, and you can forcefully pull it out of the body of human Zuli." After finishing speaking, Feng Yao opened his eyes wide, and the yin power in Minato's body turned into a hand and grabbed the nine tails from Minato's body. Roar! Yin Juwei let out a roar, but was suppressed by Feng Yao. Minato looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. He couldn't believe that the nine tails were pulled away and suppressed so quickly. He is a reincarnated body of filth, so there is no danger in pulling away the tailed beast. The outsider golem in the distance saw another nine-tailed golem, and became excited, roaring constantly, trying to devour the other party. It took a step and rushed towards the nine-tailed chakra. Feng Yao let out a cold snort, and the few Taoist jade beside him merged into one big hand and slapped the outsider golem flying out, his head distorted abnormally. "Don't worry, you beast, it's not time for you to transform." Feng Yao glanced at Orochimaru, and the other party immediately understood, bit his finger, and used Dirty Earth reincarnation again. The two coffins rose directly from the ground. These were the corpses that had been channeled before. Golden Horn and Silver Horn came out of them. These two also had some nine-tailed chakras. It was originally planned that if the chakra of Watergate was not obtained, Feng Yao would use it as a backup. "It's almost ready, hasn't the avatar come yet?" Feng Yao glanced at the distance, a little impatient. In ruins. Feng Ling's head was covered with blood, but it had dried up. He was indeed seriously injured in the battle with Madara, but it only took a few minutes for his resilience to be extremely terrifying, but he couldn't ignore other people. The battle between Hisama and Madara was too fierce. Although it was only a few short encounters, Konoha village was almost destroyed. The battle even spread to this place. Dead for no reason. I had to save everyone first and put them in a safe place. It seems that the main body is urging me, but I can't just leave like this. Feng Ling glanced at the many unconscious people behind him with a headache. At this time, Tu Kun Maru, Chongo, and Shuiyu appeared in front of Fengling together. Do said respectfully, "Lord Fengling, leave these wounded to us. You can go and have a round with Lord Feng Yao." Chapter 194_Kurama Mode. "Okay, I'm relieved to have you here. I remember to go to the battlefield to see if there are any other injured Konoha ninjas." Feng Ling nodded and tore off the face of the underworld, revealing the Feng Yao's 7-point resemblance to the face. A white Jew appeared on the ground. These were clones made by Orochimaru, not from an outsider golem. Feng Ling handed over his face, and Baiju immediately became the same figure and temperament as Feng Ling. Even chakra was exactly the same, and then put on the face of Netherland. During the time when Feng Ling became the ten-tailed man's pillar force in the past, Baiju will temporarily replace the position of the shadow. After explaining everything, Feng Ling floated up and went straight to the distant battlefield. Tu was not idle either, he squatted beside Tsunade. Palm magic. The green light wrapped around her hands enveloped Tsunade. Under the healing of chakra, Tsunade gradually opened her eyes, and she half sat up. "Do, you are finally here. Is the battle over?" In this operation, Kao's team was mainly responsible for helping Konoha village to reduce losses, and many Konoha ninjas were rescued by them. Please rest assured, the battle on Konoha's side has come to an end, and most of the Shiro on Madara's side have been dealt with. It will take some time for Master Fengyao, but Master Fengyao will definitely succeed. Kao said looking into the distance. Next to him, Shigego was inputting his own body cells to Hideyoshi. With their help, Terumi Mei, Hideyoshi, and Jiraiya all slowly woke up. When Jiraiya opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was the pocket that healed him. Jiraiya's pupils shrank, and then he took a few steps back. Aren't you from the Immortal Organization? Why are you here? Do adjusted his glasses and said with a smile, You are really spirited, Lord Jiraiya, you don't have to worry too much. This time our Immortal Organization and you are not enemies. On the contrary, we will even help you deal with Madara. Are you all right, Jiraiya? Tsunade squatted beside him and grabbed his hand. Zillai's expression froze for a while, and he looked around. Tsunade and other shadows who had been healed made his face soften a lot. You guys are really so kind. Then Fengyao must have come too, he is now where? Xueyu slung the shark muscle on her shoulders and said disdainfully, Boss Fengyao is of course helping you solve the spots. Otherwise, with the strength of your Konoha, let alone the 9 tails, I'm afraid the village will be slaughtered by others. You. Zillai's tone was stagnant, and he immediately lowered his head like a deflated ball. Do gave Xueyu a fierce look. After all, Fengyao's order was to let them help Konoha more in this war and make friends with them, so that after Madara's incident was over, he would relieve the ninja world on the grounds of making great achievements. All the actions of the Xian organization made the Xian organization an independent organization recognized by the ninja world. The 5 major ninja villages have already controlled 4, and the strength of Cheyenne village is weak. Fengyao has arranged for Gaara and others to take them, so it will definitely be no problem for the ninja village to pass by then. Can stop the mouths of the people below. The lens is pulled to the spot here. Originally intending to continue to take the 9 tails in Naruto's body, he was stunned for a while, because he saw Fengyao change another 9 tails in the blink of an eye. This is something that Madara didn't know. After all, he didn't expect anyone in the future. Divide the 9 tails into 2 halves and seal. Not good. I'm afraid Fengyao's purpose is also for the 10 tails, otherwise he will not collect the other half of the 9 tails. If this is the case, then it is better to deal with Fengyao directly. If he controls the 10 tails, then even if what's the use of me peeling off the 9 tails from Naruto's body? Madara thought of this, and stomped her feet and rushed towards Fengyao's position. Sasuke saw Madara leaving, and the big stone in his heart finally let go. He staggered and tried to get closer to Naruto, but after taking 2 steps, his eyes suddenly went black, and he was about to fall to the ground. Whoosh! At this moment, Itachi came over, supported him from behind, and said gently, Sasuke, you've done a good job, take a good rest, your friend will be fine. Brother, you won't be leaving. Sasuke narrowed his eyes and said with the last of his strength. Don't worry, Sasuke, that's the last time. Itachi tapped Sasuke's forehead lightly. Sasuke finally felt relieved when he heard this, and his head tilted and fainted. Looking at Itachi, whose eyes were already a little dark, he frowned. He knew that if Sasuke continued to use the kaleidoscope, he would definitely go blind. Itachi glanced at Fengyao's direction, hesitated for a moment, and took out a short knife. He cut his own wrist and put it next to Sasuke's mouth. Itachi's blood contains the power of Fengyao's cells and columnar cells. As long as Sasuke absorbs it successfully, there will be no problem with using the kaleidoscope. But this is definitely not in Fengyao's plan, but Itachi's doting on Sasuke can even make him go against his will for a short time. Just like the original, Itachi guards the village, but if you want to choose between your brother and the village, Itachi still I will choose my brother. Naruto, who is not far away, has also slowed down at this moment. After all, the 9 tails were almost pulled out. In the space of consciousness. Hey, 9 tails, are you still here? Naruto shouted loudly, putting his hand to his mouth. It's so noisy, of course I'm still here, otherwise your life would be long gone. Kurama emerged from the darkness, and now he is no longer bound by the seal and can move freely. Naruto scratched his head and showed a sunny smile. Ha ha ha, that's right. Looking at Naruto, Kurama also rarely smiled. Naruto, although it was dangerous just now, thanks to Banana, now I have no restraints, and I will fight side by side with you to stop Madara's plan. That's great, but Nine Tails, haven't we been fighting side by side? Naruto wondered. HMPH, that just borrowed a part of my chakra, and my name is Kurama, remember it for me, idiot. Kurama laughed and scolded, and stretched out his clenched right fist. Naruto also stretched out his fist to meet Kurama. Well, Kurama, let's fight side by side. In reality, Naruto's chakra skyrocketed wildly, his body was surrounded by golden flames, his hair and forehead ribbon were upturned, and a black hook jade appeared on his neckline. A cloak made of chakra appeared on his body and entered the Kurama mode. Naruto glanced at his state in disbelief. At this time, he was stronger than any other period. Even Itachi, who was feeding Sasuke blood, couldn't help but look sideways. This state, is it the nine-tailed chakra? It's so strong, it really deserves to be the most powerful tailed beast among the 9 big-tailed beasts. Chapter 195-10 Tails Resurrection. On Feng Yao's side, the golden horns and the silver horns who were reincarnated by the dirty soil have woken up one after another, and they looked down at their bodies. Golden horn, we seem to have been resurrected by someone. Hello, did you resurrect us, kid? Hehe, this seems to be the technique of the second-generation Hokage Tobirama, reincarnation of the dirt. I really want to kill you. Jin Zhao and Yin Zhao stared at Feng Yao fiercely. The two of them were born with the blood of the 6 Path Immortals, and their chakra volume was astonishing, their strength surpassed that of the 5 Shadows, and they had always been arrogant. He is also the most vicious felon in the history of Union Village. He once launched a split within Union Village, killing his boss, the second generation of Hokage, and causing the second generation of Hokage to die. Feng Yao responded indifferently. It seems that you still don't understand the situation. Did you devour the 9-tailed chakra, causing your brain to break down? Let's use you first. After finishing speaking, one of Feng Yao's begging jade turned into several black sticks, stabbed the silver horn in the opposite direction, controlled him to float, and then threw it towards the outsider golem in the distance. Bastard, bastard, what are you going to do to me? What kind of monster is this? Golden Horn, save me. Silver Horn looked at the golem that he kept approaching, and finally cried out in horror. Kai. Originally, Obito thought that Feng Yao had some tricks up his sleeve, and even wanted to directly use the fire to knock down the Silver Horn. But the outsider golem saw the 9-tailed chakra delivered to the door, swallowed it directly, and shook his head as if he was aftertastes. The place where Tunlian had just been injured by Mingzuo and the two had recovered a lot, and then he looked even more greedily at Jin Zhao and Yin Juwei next to him. Silver Horn. Seeing that his brother died directly in the mouth of the outsider golem, Jin Zhao suddenly lost his mind and ran wild. His body was covered with dark red 9-tailed chakra, and 6 tails appeared behind him. Don't be arrogant, you can go directly to accompany your brother, I'll take you for a ride. Feng Yao waved his hand impatiently, and countless phantoms appeared around him. Wan Mai Mahamudra. The light blue chakra giant grabbed the golden horn in his hand, made a charging action like throwing a bowling ball, and threw it directly at the outsider golem. Whoosh. This time, the outsider golem opened its mouth and waited on the spot, and another 9-tailed chakra was swallowed into the belly of the outsider golem. The injury of this outsider golem has completely recovered. Compared with the miserable golden horns and silver horns, Hashima looks at Feng Yao's operation with a confused face. Could this be your purpose for Feng Yao? Help Madara collect 9-tailed chakra to feed to the outsider golem. Tobirama even cursed with his half-recovered body. Aniki, big brother, I said that Feng Yao brat is not a good person. He knows Madara's purpose is to become the 10-tailed Manzuri, to release the ultimate illusion. It's fine if you don't help protect the 9 tails, and even found another 9 tails for Madara. It's extremely hateful, irritating, hateful. Kashima was silent, and he could only say to Naruto next to him, Naruto, I'm sorry. I'm afraid we can't help you too much. It may be up to you now. You must stop Madara, and your friend, although I don't know what he's going to do, but I don't think his plans are smaller than Madara. You have to be careful. Naruto nodded solemnly. Tobirama is still recovering. Kashima has been drawn from the immortal chakra. Sasuke is in a coma. Kakashi chakra is not enough, and now the only one who can count the combat power is himself. Don't panic. I will give you all the chakra I have left, and give you a spell that can echo the fairy chakra in the body and bind him. This is your chance to win. Stop it, Madara. Hashimama looked at Naruto firmly. The two held each other's hands, and Hashimata began to pass the remaining chakra to Naruto. On the other side, Feng Yao directly picked up the remaining Xianju, took a big step, and leapt to the top of the outsider golem, and Obito immediately launched an attack. The flames flying all over the sky attacked Feng Yao, and when all the jade shields were unfolded, they all fell into the sea. Feng Yao didn't look back, and directly stuffed the chakra of Xianju into the mouth of the golem. After swallowing the 9 tails, the outsider golem was finally complete at this moment. Feng Yao was very satisfied in his heart. The 10 tails are no longer a problem, just wait for the incarnation to become the 10-tailed Manzuli. 8-foot Xianju Jade. Just when Feng Yao was still thinking in his heart, a series of huge blue hooks were thrown directly at Feng Yao, and the attacking person was the spot that came. This time, Madara was also mixed with immortal chakra, so he wouldn't be restrained by Chu Daoyu. Feng Yao frowned, scattered the surrounding jade, and quickly formed a seal in his hand, and some blurred figures appeared around Feng Yao. Wan my body seal. 8-foot Xianju came within 5 meters of Feng Yao, and was directly bounced back by the original path. Madara used Susa to chop it up, and it also fell on the top of the golem. Obito stood behind Feng Yao, and he and Madara were in front and back, trapping Feng Yao. Madara laughed loudly. Feng Yao, although I don't know if your purpose is 10 tails, but I really want to thank you for helping me collect another 9 tails. Now I can finally start my plan, but first we have to revive the 10 tails. After Banana made a mark on one hand, the outsider golem suddenly struggled in pain, bloodshot in its eyes, and tightly hugged its head with both hands. Red blood began to leave in its eyes, and it looked eerie and terrifying. And the shape has changed rapidly. In the original book, Obito only collected chakras from 1 to 7 tails and some 8 and 9 tails. This time, 10 tails have almost all chakras, and 10 tails grow rapidly. Its body collapsed and turned into a crawling state. The 10 broken pillars on its back began to grow wildly, turning into 10 tails. Its eyes disappeared, and finally one eye was opened from the middle of the face. Bloody, there are 6 hooked jade in the red pupil. Roar! 10 tails opened their mouths wide, revealing sharp teeth that were several meters long, announcing to the world that they had been born, and every time its 10 tails flicked, it would cause collapse and cracks in the surrounding earth. This is it, the 10 tails. Chakra aggregates from 1 tail to 9 tails, the origin of chakra, or really scary creatures. Orochimaru swallowed and sealed this existence into the body, becoming the can human pillar power really be realized. Is this the 10 tails? Madara is a lunatic. Now I can only hope that Naruto can really stop him. I'm almost recovering. I can help him. Tobirama frowned and looked at the newly resurrected 10 tails. Feng Yao looked down at the 10 tails that were still in the first form, and pondered for a moment. The current 10 tails are not in their final form. It will take a while to wait for it to grow, and then let the incarnation absorb the 10 tails. Chapter 196-Heaven and Earth Mutation. At this moment, from a distance, most of Konoha village has been in ruins, and many pieces of the earth are broken open, and the body of Tentai is like a god. And the decision whether the world will be destroyed because of Jiwei is the battle between Judao Madara and Kazuyao. If he wins, he will be transformed into a human pillar force, and he will cooperate with Feng Yao to control the overall situation and control the entire ninja world. If they fail, Madara becomes the 10-tailed people's pillar force and launches the infinite moon redding, pulling everyone into the illusion, and then Kagaya is resurrected. Feng Yao looked at Madara calmly and said, Madara, do you remember what I told you at the beginning? Black is definitely not your will, you were deceived, including Uchiha's stone tablet and infinity moon. Read, if you don't believe it, you can call him out and confront me. At this time, I chose to talk to Madara. On the one hand, I wanted to give the 10 tails more time to grow up, and on the other hand, it was to fight Madara's will. If Madara collapsed, then this battle Feng Yao could be won without a fight. Madara responded in a low voice. Feng Yao, you are the most powerful man since I met Hashiyama, and the man who can play tricks the most. I didn't kill you in time last time. Izanagi was planted in his eyes and escaped. Do you think I will believe you this time? Madara doesn't take Feng Yao's words seriously now. In his opinion, nothing Feng Yao said is true. At this critical moment when the war is about to start, he will not be disturbed by the other party's unfounded words. At this time, the 10 tails have already begun to change for the second time. Roar. It roared, and its body began to become slender, like a human shape, with many small red horns on its head, still 6-hooked jade writing round eyes, a protrusion like a mountain on its back, and 10 tails began to become long. Long claws. The triangular-tailed beast jade, and can also use overwhelming force to cause great damage. Feng Yao frowned and was about to speak again, but Ban didn't intend to give him a chance. After making a few seals with one hand, Ban took a deep breath and spit out flames from his mouth. Fire escape Huo extinction. A mortal chakra is still added to this fire escape, and it disappears directly without touching the jade. Obito in the back also took out the death scythe and launched an attack from the back like Feng Yao. The 10 tails are about to become a complete body, and the unstable factor of Feng Yao must be removed. Feng Yao snorted coldly, and turned the Chu Daoyu through the palm of his hand into a shield to guard the front to block the fire escape. Although Chu Daoyu cannot be directly immune to immortality, the defense can still provide part of it. Amamar Spear. With a wave of Feng Yao's hand, several Dao jade changed into 2 black sticks that crossed each other, and finally formed a weapon similar to a genetic chain. The Amana Spear is different from ordinary jade, it is a sword of the heart. As long as the user has a firm belief, then it can be invincible. The remaining one, Gudaoyu, Feng Yao used to guard against Obito's attack, and his arrangement was enough to deal with Obito. Chu Daoyu turned into a black stick and kept stabbing Obito, preventing Obito from advancing. Madara's arrogant fire disappeared like a huge flame spear, hitting Feng Yao's shield, and for the first time there were signs of cracking on the front of Gudaoyu. Feng Yao didn't care, he flicked his left hand, deflecting the remaining flames, and his right Amanuma spear slashed at Madara's Susanoo. Madara also did not retreat, and drew the sword of Susanoo, and Feng Yao head to head. Boom! The 2 weapons intersected, and the sound of gold and iron colliding was endless, and the weapons made a squeaking sound, as if one side would suddenly break. Feng Yao, you can't beat me, I already have the immortal chakra, your defeat is a matter of time. No matter what wishes you have, you can achieve them in the infinite month reading, and I hope for peace. Madame frowned, and the long sword in her hand once again pushed Feng Yao back a few steps. Feng Yao stabilized his body, looked at Ban and said coldly, this world will eventually usher in changes, Ban, but that person will never be you, nor is it relying on infinite monthly reading, but me. Amanuma Spear sensed Feng Yao's firm will, emitting a dazzling black light. Madara's sword of Susanoo began to shatter little by little. Madara's pupils shrank, and he burst out with more chakra, trying his best to suppress Feng Yao, but in the end, he retreated a little by himself. Obito, don't hurry, kill him, you are the savior in this world. Madara yelled at Obito. Obito's eyes flashed, he turned around, turned on the blur, and let Chu Daoyu shuttle around himself. In the blink of an eye, he rushed in front of Feng Yao, followed by Chu Daoyu behind him, and Obito waved his sickle and slashed at Feng Yao's neck. Go! Yu Daoyu can't attack me here, Kill Fengyao, I can directly turn on the blur. Obito's mouth already showed a triumphant smile. He materialized his body and prepared to cut off Fengyao's head in the next moment. Whoosh! Spiral pill. A figure in a white robe appeared behind Obito, and a spiral pill was buckled on Obito's face. Boom! Obito was hit by the impact of the spiral pill and flew out for dozens of meters. After rolling for a few laps, he stopped. He struggled to get up and looked at the very familiar figure on the opposite side. Orochimaru also appeared behind Fengyao in an instant, and jokingly said to Obito, 2 against 1 is not very good. What's the matter? Aren't the masters and students happy to meet each other? The one who stopped Obito just now was the 4th Hokage, Minato Namikaze. He once planted the mark of the Flying Thunder God on Obito, so he was able to teleport directly at this critical moment. Obito, it's really you. Minato looked at Obito with extremely complicated eyes, filled with doubts, resentment, and self-blame. Obito didn't care. His face was gloomy. Why can't it be me, teacher? You can really arrive in time at this time. Minato's body froze after hearing this. He knew that Obito was alluding to Lin's matter, and he was about to speak to one of his disciples. Madara's sword of Susanoo could no longer withstand the attack of the Amanuma spear, and it broke apart on the spot. Facing the winning Amanuma spear, Madara directly released Susan and jumped to avoid it. So this blow slammed into the body of the 10 Tails. The spear of Xianju can be the weapon of the 6 immortals, and its power is naturally no trivial matter. Roar! Tentai roared in pain, and his body began to shake, trying to shake everyone on his body. At this moment, no one controlled Tentai. Now it is in a wild state that no one can control, and it is naturally very irritable when attacked. The yin and yang chakras began to accumulate in the mouth, forming a dark red triangle-tailed beast jade, which started to shoot randomly in the distance. Chapter 197 _ Each has ghosts. The dark red-tailed beast jade flew to the horizon, and its size was almost several times larger than that of ordinary tailed beasts. Then a conical mushroom cloud appeared thousands of miles away. Boom! It took almost a few seconds for the muffled sound of the explosion and the overwhelming shock wave to sweep in. The 10 Tails roared, as if applauding their attack. Orochimaru used his arm to block the rushing airwaves and said in horror, "Does the aftermath alone have such power? If it hits the front, I am afraid that tens of thousands of people will die." Haha, as expected of the power of the 10 Tails, it doesn't seem to be that easy to manipulate. It will soon reach the last form. Obito, you can still hold on. Madara jumped aside, a little excited. Said his arms and said in a low voice, "Don't worry, before I completely destroy this world, I will never die, and I will deal with Orochimaru and the 4th Hokage." Fengyao glanced at Ban, and then glanced at Obito. On the surface, these two are now a group, but in fact they are each having their own ghosts. In my heart, I thought that I would become the 10-tailed man's pillar force and release the infinite moon reading. I haven't fallen out yet, but the time has not yet come. Orochimaru, Obito will be handed over to you. You are with the 4th generation. He is not your opponent. When the 10 Tails evolve to their last form, they must be eliminated. If not, give me the Flying Thunder God to take him out. Take it away. Fengyao turned around and said. Don't worry, Yaojun. Orochimaru stuck out his tongue and licked his lips, staring at Obito like a poisonous snake. Obito, stop, don't continue. I know that Lin's matter hurts you a lot. Minato faced this former disciple, more sad and helpless, and could only persuade. It's okay not to mention Lin, but when I mentioned the name, Obito couldn't hear anything, and rushed over with the death scythe, shouting, "Stop pretending to be a teacher there. This kind of place, I don't care about this kind of world for a long time." HMPH, what a rude boy, he needs to be disciplined, you say, Minato. Orochimaru said that he had a seal in his hand and gave Minato an order to attack. Minato's body was shaken, and he held the Flying Thunder God Kuu and rushed towards Obito. Orochimaru also spit out a kusanagi from his mouth and cooperated with Minato to attack Obito. Spiral Pill. Wooden Hell Rebellion. Shimmering Snake Hand. The three of them battled into a group immediately, and with the help of the Blur and the Mudden Obito, they were barely able to entangle with the Fourth Eye and Orochimaru for a while, but it was a matter of time before they lost. Fungyao also began to concentrate on dealing with Madara, and he waved the Amazuma spear in his right hand again, slashing directly at Madara's head. Madara's eyes widened, and the ability of Samsara Eye began to activate. Round Grave Border Prison. Madara's 5 shadows, all of which appeared together, resisted Fengyao's Skymarsh spear in midair. Madara chose to attack directly in front of him for a moment. Fengyao's shield and Xianju spear were too large, and long-range attacks would be blocked by the shield, but getting close would make the opponent constrained. Seeing Madara rushing over, Fengyao frowned slightly, and the shield in his hand swept across directly. Madara dodged the incoming shield in an instant, leaving only one arm, a black stick created in the palm of his hand, trying to stab at the acupoint where Fengyao condensed chakra. Fengyao's face was shocked and he was about to retreat, but the shadow of the tomb firmly grasped Fengyao's Xianju spear and did not let go. At this time, Madara had rushed in front of Fengyao. Shadow Manipulation. Fengyao's eyes flashed fiercely, and the shadow beneath him seemed to come alive, directly entangling Madara's shadow. Suddenly, Madara stopped half a meter away from Fengyao. Madara tried again and found that he could no longer save half a step. He looked at the shadow under him unwillingly, and said gloomily, "So it is, you are deliberately tempting me to attack, this is some kind of secret technique." The ability to manipulate shadows. Quote. The time for this kind of secret technique to restrain Madara is very limited, and it will be forcibly cracked by the opponent at any time. Fengyao does not want to miss the opportunity. He turned the Taoist Jade with the shield in his left hand back into a black ball, and he flew over without even considering the change. Madara saw the flying Chu Daoyu struggling, and the shadow immediately began to tremble wildly, and it seemed that it would be lifted at any time. But in comparison, the speed of seeking the jade is faster, and Madara has no time to crack the shadow manipulation technique. At this critical moment, Jiwei saved Madara's life. Because the 10 tails began to change like the third form again, its body vibrated violently, causing the Daoyu Jade that was originally aimed at Madara to deviate from its position and hit other places. Fengyao cursed secretly in his heart, but he could only give up. Madara also finally got rid of the shadow manipulation technique, and a jump opened the distance from Kazura. Ten-Tail's skinny body began to grow strong, his whole body bulged, and he opened his mouth wide and spit out a huge flower-shaped muzzle. Now Ten-Tails can not only fire the oversized 10-tailed beast Jade. It can also split into dozens of tail fission bodies. Madara didn't want to deal with Fengyao now, his face showed excitement, and he made a seal with one hand, ready to directly absorb the 10 tails and become a human pillar force. But Fengyao was already prepared when he saw that the 10 tails had become the third form, and of course he knew Madara's technique. The Amana spear in his hand turned into a jade for the Dao Dao again, and he shot towards Madara to stop him from forming a seal. Round Grave Border Prison. Madara could only mobilize the shadow to resist first, and several Taoist jades stopped in midair. But Fengyao's attacks came one after another, and purple thunder and lightning appeared in his hands like a big net covering the person. Shadow Escape. This is also a kind of ninjutsu based on Yin Dun. Madara has used it in combination with the immortal mode. Although Fengyao is only a normal release, the ninjutsu he uses will be stronger than others. Madara could only be too tired to deal with Fuyao's ninjutsu, and didn't have time to use the 6 10-tailed coffin seals. At this time, Obito in the distance saw an opportunity, and now Madara was caught by Fengyao and should have no time to take care of himself. He immediately retreated and pulled away from Orochimaru. While forming a seal in his hand, he shouted, "Mu done." Orochimaru immediately stepped back a short distance so that he could respond at any time. The corner of Obito's mouth traced a smile, and when he was about to make 6 ten-tailed coffins, his body suddenly stagnated. A certain spell at the heart began to activate, immobilizing his body. Damn it, Madara, he still noticed. Obito glanced at Madara's position resentfully. This time, he didn't have anyone to help him solve the spell in his body, so at the critical moment when he wanted to absorb the 10 tails, Madara was blocked by the magic spell. Madara also noticed Obito's eyes, and he sneered inwardly, just because you still want to be a 10-tailed man. Don't daydream, this dream must be implemented by me, Uchiha Madara, you are just one of mine. Just a chess piece. Chapter 198 Wind. Realizing that Obito was unable to act now, Orochimaru stepped forward and kicked him out in line with the principle of taking advantage of your illness to kill you. Obito vomited blood, but with his body under control, he couldn't make any movements, even if someone wanted to kill him now. Madara was very satisfied when she saw this scene, and secretly said in her heart, Obito has already been controlled, and after Feng Yao's people get rid of him, you don't have to worry about someone competing with me to become the 10-tailed person's pillar force, but this Feng Yao is true. It's troublesome, but if I become Jutsu, it would be easy to kill him. Thinking of this, Madara decided to ignore Feng Yao's attack and absorb Jiwei first. Madara closed her eyes and quickly formed a few marks in her hands, and then several wooden figures began to emerge from behind her body. Wood escape, the technique of multiple wood clone. The wooden man behind him drilled out and turned into an identical spot. This is an enhanced version for the fusion of wooden avatars and multi-shadow avatars, which can create more wooden avatars. Feng Yao's eyes narrowed slightly. He knew that Feng Yao was eager to become a 10-tailed man, but in fact, there was another person who was as anxious as Madara, and that was Xianju. He was ordered to attack Konoha to create chaos, but unfortunately his combat effectiveness was too low, and he was completely fishing on the battlefield, and in addition to Konoha ninjas, Feng Yao also sent people to deal with Baiju in the village. Seeing that the situation was not good, Xianju could only sneak underground to save his life. When he came to the battlefield, he saw Feng Yao preventing Madara from absorbing Jiwei. God-killing Feng Yao, where did it come from? Mom's resurrection is just around the corner, don't get in my way, bastard. Xianju didn't dare to go forward, and could only stay here and curse Feng constantly. Yao. There are 2 necessary conditions for the resurrection of Kagaya Otsutsuki, one is the Divine Tree, and the other is the Infinite Moon reading released by the Reincarnation Writing Wheel Eye. Release Infinite Moon reading first to make everyone fall into an illusion, because the essence of Infinite Moon reading is not just illusion. While continuing to create the dream of illusion, it will also make use of various powers. Then the caster summons the Divine Tree God Tree World to connect everyone to the Divine Tree, and let the Divine Tree concentrate the chakra on one person, that is, absorb the chakra. When all the chakras are gathered in one, when it is on a human body, it is time for Xianju to come on stage and resurrect Kagaya Otsutsuki. But now Feng Yao is stuck in the first ring. If Madara can't become the 10-tailed person Zuri, everything will be empty talk. Feng Yao looked at the dozen or so spots in front of him, and did not panic. Instead, he stepped on the floating platform and floated in the air, turning the remaining Taoist jade into sharp 1,000 needles. Madara, do you think that with so many wooden clones, I will be exhausted to deal with it, so that you can take the opportunity to absorb the 10 tails? Feng Yao knew that at this time, Madara was eager to absorb the 10 tails and defeat himself to complete the infinite month reading. But Feng Yao is not. He is also waiting for the avatar to come and absorb the 10 tails. As long as it is successful, then he and the avatar can join forces to kill Madara. All Feng Yao needs is time. He will win if he drags Madara. After all, he has 2 people. Madara didn't intend to refute when he heard Feng Yao's words revealing his thoughts. He smiled lowly. So what, I understand that you know a lot of things, but you are still too young to understand my will at all. I think you are also coveting the power of the 10 tails, so let's see who is the winner today. After finishing speaking, several wooden clones around him rushed up, and Susanoo in the 4th form appeared on their bodies. and the rest spit out a few adult-sized dragon-shaped flames to cooperate with the attack. With a wave of Feng Yao's hand, a part of the surrounding area was transformed into 1,000 needles and shot out. Hee, my wooden avatars all contain immortal chakras. Your Taoist jade can't be directly immune to their ninjutsu. I don't need much time, just a few seconds. Madara glanced contemptuously, then feel free to start printing. The wooden avatar Susanoo directly waved his knife to stop the flying 1,000 needles asking for the jade, but in the next moment, the slender black needle burst into a dazzling white light. A trace of cruelty flashed in Feng Yao's eyes. Give me a blast. Boom. The 1,000 needles in the flight of the Daoyu directly exploded. If you want to use the Daoyu to change the attack, this method is much more violent and far from elegant. But it's effective. No matter what it changes into now, it doesn't have a restraining effect on Madara. It's not as good as the effect of direct explosion. Feng Yao deliberately divided each Dao jade into several slender 1,000 needles, so that it is not easy to block all of them when attacking, and the power of the explosion can be maximized without wasting. Boom, boom, boom. When all the remaining Gudao Jade 1,000 needles flew to the front of the Banmu clone, they immediately exploded, often 3 or 5 together. Even Susanoo couldn't stand the attack like a nuclear bomb. Most of the wooden clones were submerged in the light of the explosion, and the body finally turned into wood and dissipated. The spots on the ground were also affected and had to be avoided, but the scope of the Chudaoyu explosion was too large, and it exploded continuously, so there was nowhere to hide. The mushroom cloud and the shock wave from the explosion kept appearing on Jiwei's back. Roar, roar. It feels extremely irritable and aggrieved, and he is a dignified ten-tail, the aggregate of this world's chakra. How can you make fun of me on my back? So he split thousands of split bodies from his body, each of different sizes, some of which are the size of ordinary people, and some are even comparable to tailed beasts. Their bodies have sharp barbs, no eyes, only 2 protrusions corner. They rushed towards their backs together. The purpose was to get rid of the bugs that had been on their backs. As a result, as soon as the splits rushed up, they ran into Madara head-on. What the hell, get out of my way. Madara waved his hand directly, and he drew his sword of energy, and half of the split body was cut in half on the spot. This aroused the ferocity of these splits even more, and they roared loudly, rushing to tear up the spots. Madara, don't try to run away. A few thousand jade needles for seeking the Tao were stuck in front of him. Boom. The split body was directly destroyed by the group. Madara was also in a state of embarrassment, driving the complete body Suzuo to dodge the defense, suppressing anger in his eyes, and glanced at the few remaining needles around Feng Yao. His heart, he forced himself to comfort himself. It's almost time, he's about to run out of jade, and then it's my turn to fight back. Finally, Madara's entire body, Susa, completely collapsed after the last wave of Gudao Chinban's needles were shot. Seeing Feng Yao stop, Madara was ecstatic in his heart, and he laughed twice. It seems that I am the one who wins. What can you do against me now that you don't have Chudaoyu? Quote. Chapter 199_Kakashi's words. Madara's voice seemed to be cut off suddenly. Feng Yao waved his hand. Except for the floating jade, the other 9 jades were condensed again, and Feng Yao's jade was not like Madara and the others by becoming 10. Tail people appear automatically after the pillar force, they use 1 less 1. Feng Yao was condensed by himself using the technique of yin and yang escape, similar to the immortals of the 6 paths. Madara's mind exploded when he saw the scene in front of him, and he roared inwardly, how is it possible? To be able to create a Taoist jade so quickly, could it be that this guy Feng Yao is a reincarnation of the 6 paths? Orochimaru glanced at Feng Yao from a distance as if looking at a monster, and said in his heart, I haven't seen Yaojun do it for a long time. I didn't expect it to be more and more terrifying, but this also proves that my original choice was very good. Wise. Then he turned his head to the bruised Obito and said, boy, it's time to get rid of you. After all, I don't want Yaojun to wait too long. Orochimaru licked the kusanagi in his hand. Minato shook his body, and persuaded, wait a minute, Mr. Orochimaru, he can't do anything now, can you give him a way out? HMPH, Minato, you are really too tolerant of this disciple. If I'm not wrong, it was he who started the Nine Tails Rebellion and killed you, right? Logically speaking, you shouldn't be grateful to me for this. Do you have revenge? Orochimaru has been following Fengyao for the longest time, so Fengyao has told him many things. Obito's body shook, but he still didn't open his mouth to beg for mercy or ask Minato to help him. Minato sighed. I know, it is impossible to say that there is no resentment, but he has become like this, and it is also my teacher's responsibility. I am already dead, what is the use of revenge to me, but if it is possible let this disciple of mine come back, and I will not be reincarnated in this world in vain. Quote. Minato, you really look like that guy from Jiraiya, but this is Yao Kun's order. Orochimaru flashed a killing intent in his eyes, and threw the kusanagi in his hand directly. Obito closed his eyes, but he didn't feel the blade pierce his heart. Opening his eyes, a man surrounded by golden flames stood in front of him, holding the kusanagi that just flew in his hand. Minato looked happy. Naruto. It was Naruto who had just received Hasuma's chakra who blocked Orochimaru's shot. When he looked at Minato, he softened as well. In Sukuru's memories, he had already seen his father Minato, and even more so. At Watergate, he sacrificed himself to protect himself. Well, Duo-chan, Dad, I'm late. Naruto showed a sunny smile at Minato. Orochimaru frowned. He felt that the current Naruto was no trivial matter, so he said solemnly, Naruto, do you want to stop me from killing Obito? Naruto turned his head to look at Obito and said, although this guy has done so many annoying things, Kakashi-sensei hasn't given up on him, just like I won't give up on Fengyao, and I'm stuck. Miss Casey asked me to bring a word. Obito raised his head and looked at Naruto. At this moment, he seemed to see Kakashi when he was young, when he was still cherishing the dream of becoming a Hokage. Kakashi looked at him and said, I'm really sorry for not being able to protect Rin. Obito, Rin used to be a medical ninja to protect the two of us desperately. If you think the illusion is real, then you deny it. The Lin who gave her life for us, if Lin was alive, she wouldn't want us to kill each other. Come back, Obito. Obito's eyes were a little dazed. He remembered the beauty of completing the task together with Lin and Kakashi, and the memories that he didn't know where he left him came to his mind again. Lin, Obito murmured in a hoarse voice. After Naruto finished speaking, he turned his attention to Orochimaru again. I came here this time because the first-generation uncle gave me a technique that could defeat Madara. I am here to help Fengyao, Orochimaru. If you still want to kill Obito, then I will definitely stay here to spend more time, and then if Fengyao is in danger, I will blame you. Having said this, Orochimaru is in a dilemma. If Naruto threatens directly, he will fight Naruto instead. After all, he has Minato on his side, so let Naruto be strong and deal with his own father. I'll be tied up. But Naruto is talking about Fengyao and Madara, which has to let Orochimaru think about it. Although Fengyao doesn't look like he will suffer, Madara is really powerful. If Naruto really has the ninjutsu that can subdue Madara, if so, it is indeed more important than killing Obito. Orochimaru pondered for a moment before making a decision. Okay, I promise you not to kill him, but I want Minato to take him away from Jiwei. This is my bottom line. There is another order in Fengyao's order, that is, he cannot kill Obito, but he cannot be allowed to get close to the Ten Tails. After all, he will also have 6 ten-tailed coffin seals, and he may absorb the 10 tails at any time and become a human pillar. Now time is very precious. Naruto didn't stay much, and didn't even have time to talk to Minato. He turned around and ran towards Madara's position. Minato looked at Naruto's back with gentle eyes and said, Thank you, Naruto. I have never fulfilled my father's responsibilities, but you have really grown into an excellent ninja that both my mother and I are proud of. Naruto's body trembled a bit, holding back the tears in his eyes. He gave a thumbs up to his back and said, That's for sure. After all, I'm the son of the 4th Hokage. Feng Yao's questing jade is like endless, and he has thrown another round, Madara panting heavily, which is even more difficult than the thousands of hands he received from Zujian. Yao is continuous. But in the same way, the consumption of Feng Yao chakra is also very large, even more serious than Madara. He fell from the air and sat on the back of the 10 tails and gasped violently. After all, the chakra of the Daoyu was provided by himself. HMPH, it seems that your chakras are not enough anymore. It takes a lot of chakra to gather Daoyu. Madara showed a smug smile. He knew that Feng Yao couldn't keep attacking like this. Feng Yao sneered while recovering chakra. At least I can stop you. As soon as he said that, he condensed another chakra, and Madara's face changed, and he was ready to avoid it. In fact, Feng Yao used it to scare Madara. He had indeed used up all the chakras, and there was only a trace left to maintain his body functions. For a while, Madara was still throwing the mouse, and he was still worried that when he was absorbing the 10 tails, Feng Yao took the opportunity to attack. Chapter 200 You are from the Otsutsuki family. Just when the two fell into a stalemate, Naruto's figure began to appear in the distance. Madara frowned. He didn't think Naruto was here to help him. Do you want to take a risk and start absorbing the 10 tails? It seems that Feng Yao has only one other jade left. As long as it is consumed, it should be fine, but if he is deceiving me. Madara thought quickly in her mind. But someone helped him make a choice. Lord Madara, it looks like you need my help. A deep voice came from behind Feng Yao. Feng Yao's body was stunned for a moment, and he turned around suddenly, and saw the black liquid rushed towards him and covered his face. Heiju, who had been forbearing by the side, finally made his move. He directly gave up Baiju's body and approached Feng Yao with his body like a puddle. Spiritual fusion. In the blink of an eye, Feng Yao was covered in black liquid. In my mind, I felt that another consciousness invaded my mind, trying to compete for control of my own body. Madara's spirit was shocked. He laughed and said, "Well done, Heiju, control Feng Yao and don't let him disturb me." Heiju occupied half of Feng Yao's body, revealing half of his face with a gloomy smile. "Don't worry, Madara-sama, please feel free to absorb the 10 tails, there will be no problem with me." On the surface, Heiju respected Madara, but in his heart he was planning how to sneak attack on the other party and resurrect Kagaya. 0. For the sake of safety, Mobin still separates out a wooden clone just in case, and his own body immediately begins to seal. As if feeling something, Joey started to roar. "Heiju, you are courting death, and you dare to invade my consciousness." Feng Yao's body trembled slightly, as if he was competing with Heiju for control of his body. "Ha ha ha, Feng Yao, you don't know how to live or die, just wait for Madame Madara to become Ju-tailed Zuli, and kill you easily, this is the end of you and us." Heiju said that Madara became Ju-tailed Zuli at that time. It was hard to hide his excitement. After 1,000 years, he was finally going to resurrect Kagaya. Feng Yao sneered a few times and joked, "You guys are you and Kagaya Otsutsuki, it's a pity that with me here, she doesn't have the chance to be resurrected." Hearing this, Heiju's black face showed an angry expression. He didn't know where Feng Yao got so much news. He has almost sabotaged his plan several times. It is impossible to say that Hei is never curious. Let me see, how did this guy know so much information? Maybe he can get some useful things. Heiju thought for a while, sinking his spiritual consciousness into Feng Yao's in his mind. He began to look at Feng Yao's memory. Kurama. Naruto finally came over, and immediately turned on the state of Tail Beast. The golden 9 tails wrapped Naruto, with flames rising from his body, and black lines on his shoulders and tail. With all 4 of its feet on the ground, 9 tails charged towards Madaraban. Tailed Beast Jade. 9-tailed mouth began to accumulate chakra, and a small black-purple ball slowly grew in 9-tailed mouth. But Madara left a wooden clone just to prevent this. Although the power of the tailed beast jade is also very strong, in terms of effect, it is difficult to deal with the Taoist jade without Feng Yao. Madara's wooden clone stood directly in front of 9 tails, and Yuyan's body began to turn into wood. Wood Done Wood Dragon Technique. The wooden dragon grew directly from the body of Banmu's avatar, using himself as nourishment, and a huge wooden dragon was wrapped around Juwei's body and used his body to restrain Juwei's neck. The tailed beast Jade was forced to stop. Juwei screamed, and its chakra was being absorbed by the wooden dragon. Naruto in the body also showed a painful expression. Madara sneered when she saw this scene. You want to stop me just because of you. Don't you know that the 9 tails were also controlled by me? This wooden dragon has easily bound the complete 9 tails, let alone the 9 tails. You only have half your 9-tailed chakra. Naruto's face showed pain, and the wooden dragon was gradually swallowing the body of the 9 tails. On the other hand, Heiju saw a scene he had never seen in the 1,000 years of his life. Airplanes, cannons, high-rise buildings, and animation are all memories of ordinary people's past lives, but they are shocking in Heiju's eyes. Feng Yao's memory of sitting in front of the computer and watching Naruto, of course, also fell into Heiju's eyes. Impossible. What kind of ninja tool is this? You can actually watch what's happening in this world. It's terrible. Could this place be the world where the Otsutsukimoto family is located? Yes, it must be so. Only in this way can you explain why Feng Yao, knowing so many things and preventing Mother from resurrecting, they are going to punish her. Heiju was so frightened that he lost his mind and immediately withdrew from Feng Yao's consciousness, not daring to continue watching. He is the consciousness of Kagaya. Of course he knows about Kagaya stealing the fruit of the divine tree, and he also knows that people from Otsutsuki will definitely come here to deal with Kagaya in the future. The black body wanted to get rid of Feng Yao immediately, and it was also because of Kagaya's consciousness that he had an instinctive fear of the Otsutsukimoto family. Hehe, do you still want to leave after seeing so many things? Stay, Heiju. Feng Yao's body suddenly stopped shaking, his hands were sealed, and several black sticks pierced out of his body, directly nailing Heiju on himself. To deal with Heiju, only yin and yang escapes can hurt and kill him. Before Feng Yao was controlled, it was for Heiju to see, and the purpose was to wait for time to condense chakra. Let go of me. What do you want to do? Let me go out. Heiju kept roaring, trying his best to get out of Feng Yao's body. The ground trembled, and Juwei's body suddenly began to shrink, and it was being absorbed in a certain direction. Everyone looked at him intently. Hasuma, Kakashi and others were very anxious. They didn't know if Naruto had any results, so they could only pray silently. Heiju was stunned for a moment, then laughed wildly. Even if you are a member of the family, what can you do? Madame Madara has absorbed the 10 tails, and now he is the strongest in this world. As long as he kills you, then all the problem is solved, when the time comes. Feng Yao was very calm, and he replied lightly, please use your eyes without eyeballs to take a good look at who actually absorbed the 10 tails. Heiju's laughter came to an abrupt end. He looked intently, but found Madara also had doubts on his face. He still holds the gesture of 6 10-tailed coffins on his hand, but the 10 tails are not absorbed towards him. Madara had actually finished the printing just now, but found that Juwei did not respond, and at that moment he felt that the situation was not good. Madara's face was as gloomy as water. He knew that someone had already taken the lead, but that person was not Obito, because the curse mark on his heart was still there.